Hadelamid imperial family fell, and also because of such an abomination as treason. She knew that such a day would come someday, and she always told her father about the need to reform the system of homunculi. Forbidden alchemy used to establish an absolute monarchy. Homunculus is a person created with an innate gift for magic and swordsmanship. Their heads were washed so that they would turn the monarchs into loyal dogs. Homuncles were sent to the most dangerous battles under the pretext of achieving prosperity and peace in the empire. Such guys, raised to the rank of imperial knights, were treated well in recognition of their skills, but they were no different from slaves. In such realities, it is natural that the homunculi took offense at the most august persons. With their actions, the emperors fanned the flames of malice, which gave rise to the spark of the uprising. And if her father as Desmond II simply ignored the danger, then Bridget, the third princess, became the heir, only worsened the situation. After this girl was named the crown princess, the exploitation of slaves intensified. Homunculi sent on long-term missions perished in dangerous battles or died from heavy work, and those who served at the palace fell into the harem of the princess, where their knightly dignity was trampled. She is the seventh princess of Evanrose Cloel Hadelamid, could not stand it, and she began to look for precedents in history of the deprivation of the title of the heir to the throne. But Bridget, for whose sister was an eyesore, used her to conclude a political marriage. Alas, but such is the fate of all powerless women. But it didn't work because of him. Within a week, the knights homunculi of the palace were gathered by him to raise an uprising. His king, Michaelis Agneto. His mind was not clouded by the power of the imperial family, and he possessed outstanding leadership abilities. Having beheaded the monarch who blindly believed in the power of submission, the king became the new ruler and gave the first order, namely, put the members of the Hadelamid family to death. All are dead, except for Evarose and Rosinit, the second princess. Evarose has been imprisoned for a month, waiting for her time. Soon only Rosinit will remain. The Philosopher's Stone is a symbol of imperial power, reacting only to the blood of the august, so they need to leave at least one. And in love with Michaelis Rosinite, ready for anything for his sake, was an ideal option. Evanrose still did not want to live in such conditions. If you regret something, it is the wrong choice of the heiress. A young man approached the captive. "Is the seventh princess awake?" he asked. It was Michaelis Agneto, the personal knight of the girl's half-sister. The guy thought, Ego is not happy to see here. Evanrose wonders why he is here. And he decided to visit the captive. She does not understand the reasons for the visit. Isn't he busy usurping? The knight admitted the fact that he was busy in the last month, but he finally found time to visit the crowned lady. It's fine on his part, but the girl doesn't need care, as she herself admitted. The king of homunculi leaned towards the lady and barely lay on top of her. She thinks that she was heartbroken during the period of imprisonment. She is right to hug him, but this does not mean that there is nothing to say. Evanrose asked the rebel to move away. The warrior believes that she should have chosen Ego, and then the lady would not have had to go through something similar if he became her personal knight. Usually, members of the imperial family choose one of the homunculi for personal subordination. A homunculus chosen by a princess or a prince must serve the master with absolute loyalty. It seems romantic, but the August family could get rid of them at any time and treated them as expendable things. Evanrose rejected this system, so she did not have a personal knight. For this reason, she was criticized as a crown-wearing person who does not know the rules. In contrast, Rosinite fell in love with Michaelis and mercilessly got rid of her knight in order to choose a rebel. He was going to use the girl from the very beginning. So the guy says, "Did Evanrose have to choose Ego?" "Yes, she would not wait for the death sentence," said the rebel. "That's it. It doesn't matter to him who plays the role of a stupid puppet princess." Evanrose is angry, and she is really a difficult woman. Agneto is forced to agree. 2 guards and a man with them entered. Talks about misunderstandings with the child in the womb of the empress. Evanrose is surprised by such words. Michaelis leaves, but promises to see you soon. The princess was left alone and began to tremble. He does not understand words about meeting soon. Homunculus talked about the death penalty? She thought that she was used to constant fear and loneliness. Rosinite entered the room and greeted her sister. The prisoner reciprocated. "We haven't seen each other for a long time," she said. And the guest looks good. Even Rose looked at the girl's stomach. Does that mean she is really pregnant? Rose confirmed. And this child is Michaelis. The prisoner reminded about the reproductive options of homunculi. The visitor thinks that it is difficult for her sister to believe that she is pregnant. Does he think she cheated on him? Even Rose asks you not to think so. She herself is surprised, as it differs from the information known to her. The sister offers her to find out about everything right now. She believes that the fruit of their love appeared thanks to the power of the Philosopher's Stone. According to the captive, if the sister is looking for Sir Agnito, then he went after his beloved. Apparently they got away. But no, the girl came here specifically to meet with Evenrose. She was worried, having heard about today as the day of her sister's treasury. Evenrose was saddened by this. Rosenite is interested. Does her relative know how their father, sisters, and brothers were executed? Until this moment, they were killed by personal knights. The chance to kill a hated person with his own hands was a gift from Michael. There is nothing sweeter than revenge. For example, Bridget was burned. Does a captive represent instant death from the guillotine? Even Rose looked shocked. This was noticed by Rose. The unfortunate woman looks shocked. In fact, the homunculus that will accompany her to the place of the treasure has already been chosen. Yes, the captive never had a knight. And therefore, the choice fell on the one who wished to save her life. This is the one who most of all wants the death of Evenrose, Michaelis Agnito. Does the sister want to say that no one else hates the princess as much as this person? Is it because Evenrose didn't knight herself? He decided that the girl is a hypocrite, pretending not to be like other family members? Rosenite agrees. The homunculi king hates the seventh princess very much. Does she want to know how to execute her? Evenrose didn't want to hear anything. But the sister believes she should know. She will be beheaded in the most brutal way. Is Hadelamid the same way? Thus, when death comes after 6, or maybe 10 blows with a blunt axe, Rose will help her sister. She took out an ampule with belladonna poison. If he drinks, he will die painlessly. Isn't this better than waiting for one's end in torment? The seventh princess thanked her family. He asked for forgiveness that a pregnant woman has to do something similar, being in a position. Rose asks not to worry, because this is her choice and she will take care of everything. Even Rose does not want her sister to be punished, but she asks not to worry. They began to say goodbye, but Rosenite waited for the captive to drink the poison. Someone must remember the last breath of the unfortunate. She asks her surprised sister to drink faster. The seventh princess swallowed the contents of the bottle and everything floated before her eyes. Does she know the meaning of belladonna in the language of flowers? I curse you. Really? Even Rose could still think. Seeing the girl in an unconscious state, the thief's sister began to rejoice. Now she has no obstacles. She remained alone. And Michaelis, and the throne. All of it. Rose is happy about the death of her sister, whom she thinks is stupid. After some time, Michaelis entered the room of the deceased. He looks at the girl and realizes that he should have just kept her close. Rose came and the warrior asks, "What happened here?" According to the thief, the sister committed suicide. She decided to take responsibility and suffer punishment as a member of the imperial family. Michaelis does not believe. And how does she know about this? I saw everything with my own eyes, says the thief. Homunculus is interested. Did the pregnant woman give poison to her sister? That's right. I helped her to repent and leave, replied the princess. Rose that the warrior could not make up his mind. She, as his partner, helped him make the right choice. After all, an unyielding imperial person is a disaster for the country. And next to Michaelis, she alone is enough. The king of the homunculi demands that the ladies be silent. Is he really mad at Rose? She was upset. The warrior silently took the unfortunate woman in his arms, and this unleashed anger on the part of the killer. She accused the ego of ignoring her. She is his wife, but the guy asks to get out of his way. The servants asked Her Majesty to be careful because the king was not feeling well. Rose demanded not to be touched. How dare slaves allow themselves such a thing? The thief blocked the path of Michaelis. He threatens. If he does not stop behaving like this, he will make him regret it. She is also carrying his child. The guy froze. Although he used alchemy for conception, he was interested in her health. The homunculi king smirked. It seems that he does not believe the words of the thief. And the princess confuses experiment with pregnancy, she says. Philosopher's Stone reacts to imperial blood, and it rules only homunculi. Therefore, Michaelis wanted to possess this stone, borrowed Rose's womb, and mixed her blood with his own. This does not change the fact that this is their child. Rose does not give up. The warrior appreciated these words. She does not even know whose seed is in her. It is too generous to call the ego a child. In the stomach of the lady is just an alchemical experiment that has never been conducted in advance. How does she know if it will be born a monster or a human? Says Michaelis. A monster? How can he speak so cruelly? The princess is shocked. Didn't she call them that? What a pretender, said Michaelis. He asked to bring in the princess. The servants carried out the order, and the thief shouted that he could not do so. She was indignant. Who is even Rose that the warrior treats Rose like that? He looked at the unfortunate, as he called her, Iverhorival. She never allowed him to be near her. The advisor was walking behind. The king turned to him. Even if it is necessary to summon all the magicians and alchemists of the empire, it is necessary to revive the unfortunate one again. The price is not important. The seventh princess of the Evanrose Empire, Hloel Hadelamid, is a celebrity among homunculi. She demanded a better attitude towards them and refused the traditions of the imperial family. Everyone despised the girl. What homunculus would not look at her? There were many who wanted to become a knight in Evanrose, but she did not allow anyone to do so. Although Michaelis stopped trying to become him, but because of the steadfastness of the princess. But still he continued to look at the crowned person. Every time Evanrose suffered terrible treatment for refusing to obey stupid orders, the boy discovered something strange in himself. This has never happened to him. And when I finally understood everything, I could no longer escape from these feelings. A member of the imperial family and a homunculus. A connection that was never destined to come true. They talked about the wedding of the seventh princess and her departure to another country. Most likely, this is a political defect. It can be said that the lady was sold. No, this is not destined to happen. Therefore, Michaelis took possession of the imperial palace. There are no more barriers. All that remains is to keep Evanrose close to you. He thought so. And now he was with his dead beloved on the sofa in the hall with the Philosopher's Stone. An advisor came and reminded that the king had not eaten for the 4th day, and after all, he recently managed to seize the throne. It is impossible to revive a person, and now it is necessary to deal with the situation. Doesn't a stone work wonders? The assistant says, Imperial blood is needed for ego use. Michaelis ordered to cut off the head of Princess Rosenite. The shocked advisor recalled, she is the last member of the crown-bearing family. In addition, the king himself spoke about the need to preserve her life in order to possess the Philosopher's Stone. The warrior does not want this, and his beloved Iv is dead. He no longer craves either a stone or an empire. The assistants were horrified by what they heard, but then they announced the visit of a sage from the fir forest. Michaelis heard. The guest knows how to revive a lady. The sage is full of respect for the king, but in case of revival, he will receive only a breathing doll. The soul of the princess separated from the body and dispersed. They will return everything, beyond the limits of the possibilities of magic and alchemy. Therefore, the true resurrection that Michaelis dreams of is impossible. Such an answer is no different from the ones previously heard by the king. Is the sage also trying to waste his time? But the guest suggested another method. This method is to turn back time. Is it possible? Surprised Michaelis. Of course, but the price is high, said the sage. The warrior must use half of the Philosopher's Stone, but for that, the price did not matter. Then the guest will start preparations for the ceremony. He told the hostess, since the stone is connected with the imperial family, the central axis of time regression will not be Michaelis, but Her Highness the 7th Princess. This means that only she will remember everything. The king touched the dead lady. Although he will not be able to meet her again, the girl will have the opportunity to see Michaelis himself. The sage agrees with this, and she won't choose him again? Will the guy be desperate and make a bad decision again? The sage did not know this. The king ordered the ritual to begin. The magician opened the book, the philosopher's stone shone, and the whole room followed it. The warrior leaned towards his beloved. It is worth either kill or choose the ego. Even Rose vaguely remembered her stay in confinement, the visit of the king and her sister, Rose's words about wanting to help. But she leaned over to the barely alive princess and said, "Ah, finally she died." The unfortunate woman did not understand. Was this really the goal of the thief's sister from the very beginning? She was the last member of the imperial family chosen by Michaelis. I remembered the latter's request for his election as a personal knight. Yes, he was going to be replaced by the 7th Princess Rose, and she, being the owner, did not allow this to happen. All this was a trap. Even Rose did not wish to die such a death. Where did everything go wrong? When did the father weaken his position and lose control? Or when Bridget became the crown princess? And if it became Even Rose, would something change? Wouldn't the imperial family and homunculi come to disaster? If you remember, she turned a blind eye to those who wanted help from the noble lady. If you would get a second chance. Then it would be... Suddenly, the girl woke up on the bed in the bedroom. She inhaled the air as if she had swum out of the depths of the sea. Even Rose struggled to her feet. Is she alive? She got up from the bed, not understanding where she was. Again, she remembered being locked up, her sister with a strange smile. She gave her poison. And why is he now in the bedroom? Wasn't the bedroom destroyed? This is definitely not a dream or an illusion. Nothing has changed during the time that the princess lived here. What is happening? Everose saw her reflection in the mirror and was indescribably horrified. Why is she so young? Return to the past? Can't be. Did Even Rose suffer so much in captivity that she went mad? I couldn't believe it. Time regression is a magical alchemy of an unimaginably high level. A man must be wise, so that he at least grasps the thread. The princess decided to definitely meet with the teacher and find out everything. Even Rose understood. She needed to calm down and think. Judging by the room and face, he is about 20 years old. And if this is so, then the 3rd Princess Bridget has not yet become the crown princess. The leader of the rebellion, Sir Agnito, and Rose, who poisoned her, have not yet met. In other words, Even Rose is now at the very beginning. And this time the girl will probably succeed. No, she can definitely do it. And for everyone's sake, she will become the crown princess. Mistress knocked on the bedroom door and her personal maid, Sedella, entered Arfel. According to the maid, the princess woke up early today. Even Rose thinks she looks very young these days. Sedella is in a momentary stupor. This is apparently the effect of the mask she used yesterday. The princess is sure that if the maid has become younger, then she herself has clearly returned to the past. We need to find out at what exact time. I asked the housekeeper, are there any important events planned in the coming days? Yes, next week is the 20th birthday of the 8th Rosenite princess. The girl thought. If this is so, then it is now 21 hours. That is, Even Rose got younger by 8 years. 20th anniversary for the imperial family is a special date, says Sedella. These days, they choose their own homunculi knights. This happens at the Chosen ceremony. This event is the flower of imperial events and the dream of many. A special connection that appears after taking an oath on a spiritual level. As they say, the homunculi lined up to become the personal knight of the 8th princess. After all, Her Highness is the White Rose of the Empire. Although what kind of White Rose is she? She is the belladonna of the Empire. Reference to belladonna poison. The maid stopped talking, and this prompted a corresponding question from the hostess. The funny thing is that it has already been decided who will get the place of the knight, says Sedella. Even Rose is at a loss, but the maid asks her to remember something. Does she remember the unusual homunculus with silver hair at the ceremony? This is the same knight, Sylvestian Millard, and the truth is, Rosenite is suitable, which is the White Rose of the Empire. This guy is good with a sword and magic, but he stands out from the rest because of his hair. All the same, homunculi are just a decoration for the most august. When Rosenite met Michaelis 3 years later, she got rid of Sylvestian. It would have been better if Rose just chose ego. But the truth is that Michaelis became close to the eighth princess only for the sake of the rebellion. He used a crowned person to seize the throne, and he brought the empire to collapse. Evenrose must stop him in this life. There is nothing left but to keep the sister and the rebel from each other. Evenrose came to this conclusion while drinking tea. The lady knows. Too many homunculi want to offer her their devotion, noted Sidella. A princess who has nothing? It can't be. The hostess smiles. It's true, she has a good reputation among these knights, shouts the maid. Evenrose asks the housekeeper to stop saying that. She will take better care of herself. He promises that if he succeeds in the future, he will find a good husband for the maid with a high income and position in society. Sidella assures that he is not joking, but is serious. The hostess, too. The maid considers it a great option if the mistress chooses a personal knight. But right away I got scared. The lady doesn't like to talk about it. It's all right. Frowningly reassures her lady. She also knows how Sidella worries about her beloved mistress. The latter even apologizes for the problems caused by the stubbornness of the poor maid. Touched Sidella almost cried, "Don't do it like that, madam." The princess knew. Her housekeeper had gone through a lot due to the low origin of Evenrose herself. The princess's mother was an alchemist, so her daughter was considered half-blood. In addition, she passed away when the girl was little. The mother had authority in the field of alchemy of golems. She valued all existing consciousness and ego. Evenrose, like her mother, was convinced that homunculi were no different from people and asked for better treatment of them. But in the end, she became an eyesore for the imperial family. Then they began to ignore the girl and reduce living expenses. How difficult was it for the maid to help the disgraced half-blood survive in such conditions? It must be that after the girl was captured in her past life, the maid was kicked out of the castle. Evenrose took the maid's hand in hers and promised to actually arrange a luxurious life for her. Embarrassed, Sidella thanks, but reminds the mistress. If she has a good life, so does the housekeeper. In a rush of emotions, the girls came to the decision to live well together. They glowed with joy. Evenrose thinks now to live peacefully all the years to come. Because here is her new reality, and the seventh princess must do everything in her power. If the events of 8 years ago are happening now, then Michael can be in a floating prison. In order not to repeat the mistakes of the past, it is necessary to solve this problem. And for that, Evenrose needs to meet her father. Polygamy is permitted in the Galamut Empire. The father of the seventh princess has 18 children. Every morning, 4 to 5 princes and princesses are randomly selected. They welcome the emperor. Evenrose wants to ask her father about something. Even being a princess, she has to wait for an audience with him. Therefore, there will be no better chance than this one. The princess asked the maid, "Is she also going to the morning greeting today?" "Yes," she answered. New question. Who else will be there? Sidella. The fourth and fifth princes, as well as the third and eighth princesses. Evenrose's eyes became round. Is it Bridget and Rosenite? Is today the same day? The girl was with them at the morning greeting that day. The day when the unfortunate fell into the trap of the future crown princess. After that day, Evenrose finally fell out of favor with her father. Of course, if she has already returned to the past, then the day of her return must be a turning point. But what better way to do it? Thinks. According to Sidella, the lady had better dress up. It dawned on the princess. The maid's right. From this moment on, she will no longer be an ugly duckling. Evenrose decided to wear a beautiful dress with bare shoulders. A faithful maid considers it right to try on a new hairstyle. An elegant third princess and a charming eighth. Will the lady have to compete with them? Asked Sidella. If the princess is elegant or too charming, she will definitely be compared. So now it is necessary to find the perfect balance. But Evenrose does not intend to compete with them face to face. This is a wise idea for a maid. The princess wants to strengthen her political position, and Sidella wants to help her improve her position in the higher world. If you think about it, today Evenrose is so active in choosing an appearance. The lady agrees, and from now on she will try her best. She has no second choice how to become a crown princess. This makes Sidella happy. He will do everything in her power. The princess remembered. She knows her future, so can she use her ego to her advantage? This is the version, but Bridget will raise her hair in a braid, and Rose will have 2 low tails. Sidella is ready to trust the hostess's intuition, and she already has ideas for a new hairstyle for Evenrose. The princess asks to decorate everything as she herself says. They were going to the palace, and the maid asked Evenrose to hurry, otherwise they would be late. The lady agreed with her with a smile, but she was simply too engrossed in making tea for her father. According to Sidella, if it weren't for the golem observers, they would have gotten through the deformation of the hostess in an instant. But the beggar moves faster, because the use of magic is prohibited in the palace. Suddenly, someone behind called Sister Iv, but she recognized this voice and stopped. She turned around and saw Rosenite. Yes, she bathed in love and got everything she wanted. She carried the child Michael and even received the throne, but only in order to remain the only member with the blood of the most august. Rose killed Evenrose. I remembered the scene when the thief bent over her, dying. She checked whether the unfortunate sister had died or not, the enemy who killed her. Evenrose clenched her fingers into a fist and glared at her relative, but she was embarrassed by such a meeting. The girl knew. This is not the time to give in to emotions. Evenrose immediately smiled. She was simply stunned by her sister's beauty. That's how she answered. The thief was embarrassed and blushed, noticing that Evenrose had put a lot of effort into preparing her morning outfit. Evenrose knows a sister never gives empty compliments. She noticed the accompanying Rosenite, a gray-haired homunculus knight. She said that she had never met a relative's companion before that. Rose turned around and introduced the guy as Sylvestian Millard. He is a knight homunculus from the Imperial Guard. He is called to accompany the lady to the main palace. Escort within the castle? Use before appointment. It seems that he really liked her, thought Evenrose. Sylvestian bowed slightly and greeted Her Highness the 7th Princess. She looked at him. This is a man abandoned by Rose like a worn item, but Evenrose won't let that happen this time. She admitted out loud that she had heard a lot about the knight. Considered talented in fencing and magic, he believes that he will become one of the best warriors and will worthily protect the one to whom he swore. Evenrose sincerely wishes the boy to meet a good host. Sylvestian was amazed and asked to excuse his rudeness. Touched by the words of the 7th Princess, he forgot to answer. She smiled and asked, "Does he often hear such things?" The warrior admitted, when the most august see him, they are usually interested in the unusual color of his hair. They remembered the time. Everose asks her sister to go quickly as they are running late. The servants announce the arrival of the 7th and 8th princesses in the courtyard. The 4th Prince Rubens was waiting for them in the hall Hadelamid, 5th Prince of Icalis Hadelamid, and the 3rd Princess Bridget Hadelamid. Walking behind Sidella, she covered her mouth with her hand in surprise. She saw the hairstyles of the sisters. They looked like the princess said. The ladies who entered bowed and asked, "Are relatives in good health?" Bridget asks to sit down faster. The girls obeyed and took their seats. The brothers began to tell Rose how much they missed her. "The white rose is in all its glory today," says Rubens. "She is like a bud of a crimson rose." The compliments continued. Rose is embarrassed. The brothers are too generous. It seems as if every blade of grass and leaf exists here in order to highlight a flower like Rose. Nice words were sent to her address. "No, not only that, you have to look around," says Bubens to his brother. "All the greenery in this room, these are all decorations for her, Rose. In the imperial family, where everyone is golden-haired, the hair color of Evenrose is a symbol of its low origin. Isn't it great when everything is obvious? The fact that the 7th princess is only half royal blood." The brothers were laughing now. They believe that a girl will never be able to hide this fact. But why was Evenrose so upset? Well, it's okay. They enjoy it so much. Now is not the time to react to such unpleasant ridicule. The sister was not offended, and the brothers themselves were already embarrassed. Why is Four behaving like this? Is she like the second one today? They thought. This is natural for a girl because everything will be different in this life. And now it is important to her, Bridget and Rosenite. The servants opened the doors, and His Majesty the Emperor entered the hall. He is also important for the 7th princess. Ruler Desmond Dominic Callisto Hadelamid asked the children if everything was fine with them and received a positive answer. He was happy and offered to get down to business. He only asked the servants to bring tea. but his daughter answered. This is even Rose, and she has made tea. He asks his father to allow him to treat them. What was she up to? Warned Rose. I wonder to the king, did the girl prepare a drink specially for him? Yes, this is a hobby, says Even Rose. She is confident in the taste and wonderful aroma, so she wants to treat the emperor to tea. The surprised monarch sees no reason to refuse. A maid came and poured a drink into the ruler's cup. Desmond sipped his cup and sniffed. The scent is really great. This is rooibos with lemon juice. It relieves headache. Surprised by this, the emperor began to drink. Even Rose noticed that he often frowned. Because of this, she assumed the presence of headaches in her father and made tea. The monarch is pleased and glad that his daughter is attentive to him. I agree. Lately, he has really been suffering from headaches. Even Rose was extremely nervous about making this tea and had been learning how to brew it since last week. The seventh princess hopes that the drink was to the taste of the ruler of the empire. In fact, Even Rose made a hasty tea from the first ingredients she found. A wonderful drink. Relief is already felt, says Desmond. My daughter just thanked me for the kind words. Reuben says that he saw only one interest on the part of his sister. This is alchemy. But now she revealed another talent of her own to the family. The girl also thanked her brother. For her, tea art is somewhat similar to alchemy. To begin with, you should carefully select all the ingredients, weigh them, and mix them in the right proportions. The reason why Even Rose was able to make such a beautiful tea is because of the talent passed down from her father. Relatives smile. And 4, they have a really talented alchemist. Bridget also spoke. The seventh princess is like her little copy. No, she exaggerates. How can they be compared? Even Rose is amazed. Even Rose pointed to the third sister. She supposedly surpasses the seventh princess by many times. Relatives are surprised. What did she eat? A girl known for her indifference decided to get her father's attention? It sounds like the daughter is afraid of Betty. Laughs the father. Bridget is very glad that she has such a smart sister as Ive. Rubens reminded everyone present about Rose's upcoming birthday. She will have an excellent night. This event is worthy of celebration throughout the empire. My sister thinks it's too late. Such an event is held for each member of the imperial family. Rose is ashamed to admit that she has no talent for magic or alchemy. Therefore, she is not sure that she will be able to properly seal the night. The emperor asks Rose not to worry about it because everything will be fine. According to the ruler, every member of the crown-bearing family is able to seal at least one homunculus. Rose reminded, the more unusual it is, the more skilled it will be. And if it accidentally fails, the father is confident that everything will go well. Rose still worries. If she were like Sister 4, she would not pay attention to such things. Even Rose mentally thanked her relative for her kind words. The king agrees that the seventh princess has abilities, but there is a problem. But he does not want to acquire a personal night homunculus. What should they do? He turned to his daughter and asked to adhere to the imperial traditions. Even Rose only tried to say something, but her parent interrupted her. He does not want to hear her excuses because she will still refuse. She is as stubborn as her mother. Unexpectedly, Ive refuted this. Everything is not so. The emperor is surprised. The girl admitted that earlier she thought too narrowly. Because of her convictions, she made her father worry. And I thought about it a lot last night. A loud statement. He needs a personal night. Everyone in the hall opened their mouths and eyes with great surprise. The emperor is not himself. Is the daughter serious? Did he mishear? The girl confirmed. She needs a night. Desmond is glad that his daughter has finally come to her senses. He asks Even Rose to sit next to him to discuss the troubling question. It seemed to Rose now that things had taken an extremely strange turn. The monarch wants to know when the girl wants to hold the ceremony. Ive herself wants to hold the event without special formalities. Do you intend to deal with this as soon as possible? Asked the autocrat. And if he says so, does he already have a homunculus on the sign? There is a floating prison monster. This is Michaelis Agneto. Everything fell silent in the hall, but then Rubens suddenly rose from his seat. What is she thinking about? He shouted. That homunculus refused to swear allegiance and ended up in prison. This is a monster that even the father could not force to obey. and she wants to capture him." The prince continued to be indignant. "Does the brother want to call His Majesty's actions a failure?" Even Rose is interested. Not that the emperor couldn't subdue the homunculus. On the contrary, it is more reasonable to say that the problem lies with the knight himself. Rubens turned to his parent and asked to accept his apology. The monarch just listened in silence to this dialogue. Suddenly, the emperor decided to speak out. "Iv, Michaelis is a dangerous type who has not yet passed the election ceremony. At this event, homunculi are brainwashed to impose loyalty to the imperial family. If Michaelis were an ordinary homunculus, he would have been eliminated even then, when everything went wrong. But taking into account the outstanding abilities of the guy, his punishment was limited to imprisonment in a floating prison. The desire of Evenrose to capture this man will be regarded as a challenge to the power of the crown-bearing family." Iv understood. She needs to be careful. "I asked my father, do homunculi have to go through a ceremony before being born? That is, for them, the ceremony is like the blessing of the ruler and the impossibility to accept such a significant thing with dignity. No, the girl is really a pity for the prisoner. According to Desmond, only the homunculus itself loses here. For the seventh princess, the idea of refusing the ceremony seems strange. How can a poor homunculus not accept the power of the emperor? Perhaps the reason lies in the flow of mana? Until now, the prisoner was left only as an exception? Ify is ready to solve this problem and make him serve as his faithful knight with the help of the skills she inherited from her father. The girl directly asked her parents to give her a chance to solve this problem. Desmond tapped on the table and closed his eyes, considering the offer. He agrees, but has his own condition. Evenrose and Sedella walked through the snow and froze. The mistress asks the maid to take her hand to keep warm. They arrived in the polar region, not marked on any state map. There is a homuncule training complex here. About 100 newly created homunculi are sent here every hour. Over the next 15 years, they are carefully trained to serve the imperial family. But only homunculi who pass exams and receive the first rank can acquire the right to serve in the palace as guards or personal knights. But even they are consumables for monarchs, not to mention homunculi of a lower rank. It is strange that the uprising did not rise. The girls were met by 3 men. One of them, gray-haired, greets the ladies who honored him with a visit here. The man introduced himself, Baron Pitt Irk. He manages the training complex. Lady thinks it's hard for Pitt to live in such a tense place. Tot waved 6 all is well. She smiles, escorts guests to the floating prison. The Baron asks the 7th princess, does she know that most homunculi who are born have dark hair? But while they are in the complex, their curls are bright and light. This is because of the limiter that is used to prevent magic from passing through the mana stream. That's why their hair lightens. When the limiter is removed, the hair acquires the usual dark shade. Yes, the lady knows. But isn't that why Sylvestian is so popular? The Baron smiled. He learned about it already after being assigned to the complex. For him, this is an amazing sight. It is as mysterious as the metamorphosis of insects. Even the one who was invited by Evenrose still hasn't removed the restraint, but soon she will see his distinctive hair color. Finally, they arrived at the place. A door opened in the rock and they entered the protruding tongue. Soon, people were in front of the cell with Michaelis. Lady looked at the prisoner's hair. Aren't they unique? That's probably why homunculi are called puppets. The prisoner was bound and a tube stuck in his mouth, preventing him from speaking. The girl did not expect to see a man in such a condition. He raised his head and looked at her. Barak is horrified. How dare a scoundrel do such a thing? Let him immediately show respect to Her Majesty the Princess. Michaelis surprised. Princess? A member of the imperial family? Pitt got angry and demanded to bring him a whip, but Iv asked the Baron to stop. She approached the prisoner. The servant said, "It is dangerous." But the lady wanted to talk to the guy. She understood. Everything is different now. Michaelis is the one locked in the cage, and she came to him. Now his situation is painful. When he saw the girl in prison, did he feel satisfaction after all the hatred he was hiding? But it seems that the homunculus from the past life was kinder to her, because he had never looked at the 7th princess with such a look. And the guy's words, it was worth choosing the ego. That's right. That's why she's here. First, I've decided to free the homunculus and then talk to him. When his hands became free, the guy asked, "What is the princess doing here?" Answer, "I came to make him my knight." The princess called herself. Michaelis reminded that the seventh daughter of the emperor refused her personal knight. Yes, everything is true, but now the lady urgently needs to strengthen her own position as the heir. Homunculus is interested, and why did she come to him? After all, I must have heard stories about him. If so, let him look for a second companion. The girl is not looking for a slave. She needs him, Michaelis. Todd is confident. The lady is joking. Whatever she calls that collar, it's still called slavery. Smizia, she is no different from other members of the imperial family. And what did he only hope for? I thought, why is he so disappointed? I knew that they were all like that. I've turned to the guy. She doesn't understand why he doesn't trust her, a representative of an august family. After all, she is not like them. Lady does not want to treat a knight like cattle, and she doesn't need anyone but him. Only he, Michaelis Agnito, may be the knight of the princess. Why him? Now the lady can't say that. But he will learn about everything when he becomes her homunculus. IV promises the guy that he will respect him as much as possible. And he promises not to use the power of imprinting to force him to do anything humiliating. Michaelis considers this to be nonsense. Reminds of Sibling. This is an absolute magical contract. Lady knows it, he is right. But he asks for trust. Iv repeated, she wants to see the boy as her own knight. The lady came up and gave him her hand. Homunculus turned his face away. This is a woman of royal blood, so there is no need to think. He remembered how the emperor himself beat him in the palace and called him a freak. Michaelis stood on his knees with his hands tied, and the ruler insulted the young man and demanded that he obey. As a result, the enraged monarch ordered the homunculus to be imprisoned in a floating prison. Michaelis was not going to be a slave to the imperial system. Ev offered him to leave here with her. But the guy hated her family. Whatever they say, for him they are all the same, he thought. But if you become a personal knight, this is the only way to leave this place. Then I am ready to go even for Sibling. And then he asked the lady to take him from this place. She took the guy's hand. They will leave here. Getting to his feet, Michaelis admitted to the guest that he was unwilling to renounce the oath to the emperor. If you're not sure, it's better to stop now, says the knight. Suddenly, something will go wrong, and then the lady's life will be in danger. The girl is glad that the homunculus is worried about her, but he thinks otherwise. Soon, the ceremony began with the use of the imperial seal. Is Ivy okay? Asks the warrior. She brought a crystal to his chest. Michaelis asks the lady to stop. In case of continuation, lady demands to support her. The knight is outraged. Does she offer to just stand and watch something reckless? She repeated, it's all right. She remembered her father's condition. If nothing works, then the daughter must kill this monster right now with her own hands. And now the lady must cope at any cost. Michaelis looked at the object in the guest's hand. Is it a philosopher's stone? Answer. To be more precise, it is an alchemical strengthening crystal. No, these stones on the girl's head? A homunculus in fear. Are these prohibited high-ranking artifacts? Earlier in the bedroom, Iv asked the maid to dress as she said. She asked to use the decorations of the late 6th Empress. Iv mentally asked her mother for help. Michaelis did not understand. But is he worth all this? Yes, said the guest suddenly. She must take possession of it. A bright light appeared between them, but immediately everything quieted down. A strong wind appeared and began to blow the couple aside. Seizing the princess, Michaelis himself grabbed one of the bars of the cage. The lady understood. All the restrictions that had been in effect had disappeared. Finally, everything quieted down. It seems that everything is in order, said the prisoner. Iv rushed to the side. Nothing like that has ever happened to her. And it seems to the guy that everything really happened. Michaelis strangely moved towards the girl. It is clear. As soon as something threatens the lady, the body of the homunculus moves by itself. Are you okay, princess? Answer 6 seems to be fine. It is necessary to put an end to the fact that knights behave like slaves, believes Michalis, although it is worse than slavery. One thought of a hair falling from the owner's head makes one shudder. The girl cried out, "The host! Is this about her? Why is something obvious being asked?" He doesn't understand. It really made the guy a personal knight. She remembered her dead mother and turned to her. It worked. She did it. Michalis is perplexed. Something happened to the lady? No, just tired. It's just that the ceremony required more strength than it seemed. The warrior knew that people are weaker than homunculi. You need to remember this well. The seventh princess asks the knight to take care of her. He came up and gave her a hand, helping her to get up from the floor. Evenrose went to the palace and carried gold as a reward, although she herself did not believe in such a reward. She received more servants from her father. I am glad that I took care in advance of people who would not like successful printing. Millard met the lady on the way. Tot bowed and greeted. He was glad to see the seventh princess in good health. Iv is interested, and he returns after escorting his sister Rose? That's right, confirmed the homunculus. Iv informed the knight about her return after the election ceremony. Sebastian asks not to consider this as impudence, but is curious. Who is the lady's personal knight? He had heard of Michalis Agnito? Asked Iv. Is the lady talking about the floating prison monster? If she was looking for a worthy one, then in the company of the hostess. But he did not finish, as Evenrose interrupted him. Millard only dryly congratulated the princess on her choice and bowed. He had to go. The girl thanked the knight and he left. She looked after him and did not understand what was wrong with him. She returned to the room where Sidella was tidying up. According to the maid, the lady returned just in time. Michalis was also here, already in uniform. Lady now understood why even Picky Rose could not resist the guy. If Ive were an ordinary girl, she would have fallen in love herself. Homunculus leaned towards her. Why is he looking like that? Does he look strange? The girl denied. No, the clothes fit him very well, but he had no sword. Later, the lady will choose a good one. Let her say which one. But how now? Don't go empty-handed. Once Iv has sealed the knight, she can safely ask for the sword as payment. Usually it is issued together with the uniform. Apparently, this rule was ignored. Since all members of the imperial family consider homunculi to be nothing more than an ornament, everyone tries to pick up a weapon for them that would stand out from the rest. Eve was upset. How could she forget about it? That's why they didn't give her a good sword to start with. Michalis did not ask the lady to take care of it. He simply stated the facts. Well, informed, as if he lived in a palace, remarked the princess. In the training complex, homunculi were taught everything until exhaustion. Court etiquette, necessary for life, is a special knowledge, in all aspects of service to the imperial family. Michalis studied all this there. If thought that, among other things, knights were taught knight service. There was an awkward tension in the air. Ive offered the homunculus to discuss everything over a cup of tea. She is glad that the guy does not refuse the dialogue. They should become much closer. Sealing is a temporary measure, because Michalis will soon proclaim himself the king of the homunculi. The princess is confident that it will not be difficult for him to overcome the force of the contract. If the warrior raises an uprising, the girl will not be able to prevent him. Therefore, from this moment on, Evenrose needs to establish a relationship with the guy. Sidella is interested. Today, the lady will prepare everything herself. Answer: yes. The maid understood everything. The hostess remembered how she had shared a cup of tea with Michalis in her past life. She then showed politeness, not expecting to see consent from the knight, but he soon left, citing the need to serve Rose. I asked the homunculus, does he like tea? Yes, I liked it, especially the color. For Michalis, he was similar to the color of the lady's eyes. The girl was surprised. Questioned to her, is something wrong? No, nothing, she answered. The knight asks for permission to go to Her Majesty the 8th Princess. Now I asked the knight how he was born. She was standing near the balcony against the background of bright sunlight. So many things resemble the color of her hair, said Michalis, But her hair is not green, but lime blonde. The knight agrees. But it is he who is so uniquely beautiful. The guy was smiling. The girl asked, "Is he talking about the Imperial Garden?" It would be nice to walk there together. Michalis is looking forward to this, but he had something else in mind. The warrior was talking about the lady's hair. Him. Is something wrong? She. And still asks? This should have been her question. Doesn't Michael hate the Imperial family? He answered instantly. He hates it. I've reminded of her belonging to the ruling family. Homunculus 6. And if you think about it, why did he say that? Hate thinking about it? But if they don't think, then everything is fine? Asks the lady. Apparently so. If they don't focus attention, the guy won't hate her, he noted. Maybe this is the effect of imprinting? Everything is converging, even logically. If you don't always like the owner, you can get tired, says Michalis. But now the warrior felt awkward. He is afraid, without realizing it, that he will become a loyal servant of the monarch. It won't happen. Don't worry. The 7th princess smiles. Michael is wary of becoming loyal to the ruler under the princess. It is doubly strange to hear this from a guy that this will not happen, says the girl. I realized that I had messed up. But in reality, nothing will happen. The warrior is surprised by her permission to address her informally. Michael expected that soon the lady would change her word. She allowed him to be treated like that as an exception, like a personal knight. When they are together, this form is acceptable. If Sedella is nearby too, they began to drink tea. Michael reminded the 7th princess of her intention to tell something, about the reason for which he was chosen as a personal knight, said the lady. Yes, once he became like that, says the homunculus. He wants to know the truth. 4 is smiling. She agrees with him. She is going to become a crown princess, admitted the hostess. Of course, the main task is the place of the empress, and the goal is to liberate the homunculi. Michael looked at the princess with a bewildered look. Is she serious? Is this the look of a liar? Asked the lady with a hint of her look. But for the knight, the lady looked convincing. That's it. Is a personal knight needed to occupy a position in secular society? Says the guy towards the girl. True, it is very important for the crown princess. And as much as politics, believes of a white crow will never become an heir. Lady reminded, this week is the oath of allegiance ceremony, and the second important event will be next week. This is the 20th anniversary of the 8th princess, reception in honor of Rose's birthday. This is the first official event where Even Rose will appear together with Michalis, an important day for the ego's return to the world. She asks to be informed about her plans. She wants to know about them in advance. A personal knight should always be near the owner. That's all the plans, says Michalis. Usually, such a warrior accompanies the hostess from the moment of awakening until the very night. If there are no special orders, then eat and sleep in the barracks of the imperial knights in the north. Homunculi live in groups under strict and careful supervision in military quarters of the Imperial Guard. Personal knights have no special privileges in this regard, but they may not appear on the roll call if they provide services to a member of the crown-bearing family. On the day of the warrior's election, an inspection is traditionally held. At the same time, the usual homunculus is obliged to demonstrate its knight abilities to the host. The conversation was interrupted. They paid attention to the eye. The sun had almost set. Evening? Time. Has the time really come? Michalis was worried. Is it really time for the inspection? It's time to leave. See you tomorrow. The lady smiles. A face full of fear looks at him. What's wrong? The lady makes a naive appearance. It seemed to the warrior that the 7th princess is the same as all other representatives of her family. And in the end, he embarrassed himself. Yes, until tomorrow. The guy got up and left the room, but Sedella caught up with him. Michael looks questioningly at the maid. Her Majesty herself rarely prepares tea for someone. To this day, only 3 people in memory of the maid have received such an honor. This is the mistress's alchemy teacher, the mistress of the magic tower, the late 4th empress. The princess respected and valued them all, and Sir Agnito became the 4th person. Sedella just wants the warrior to know that. That's how. Yes, Michaelis will take that into account. Soon he and the princess were received by the emperor. He turned to the former prisoner and called him the monster of the floating prison. The girl corrected. The ego's name is Michaelis Agnido, but for the ruler, the guy was a dishonorable person who refused to take an oath. The daughter asked the monarch not to be angry. Her companion refused the oath against his will. The emperor does not understand what the princess wanted to say. As expected, the problem lies in mana flows, says Evie. When she saw Sir Agnido with her own eyes, she was finally convinced. The lady fixed the problems, cleared some channels. Luck accompanied the girl. So luck? The emperor is even surprised. Did he not believe? Iv was scared. What is she afraid of? The monarch laughed. Why is she afraid to admit her outstanding skills? This is what he does in front of the throne. The monarch did not look angry. Since father interpreted so conveniently himself, thought the seventh princess. She lied, said no, the girl said. But when she stands in front of her father, it is not fear that overcomes her. The feeling that overwhelms a lady is awe full of consideration. Is it possible to think about carelessness at such a moment? Lady courtesy itself, the emperor admitted. He did not expect such eloquence from his daughter, even though she is the seventh princess. But okay, he is proud of the fact that his daughter has finally begun to use her own talents wisely. Iv bowed and thanked her parent. He praises her because she was able to tame the monster. And the uniform gave him a more decent look. Iv asks for forgiveness, but after all, the father himself recognized the monster as the girl's knight. Therefore, he asks to address the guy appropriately. The ruler agrees with the lady, but until the ritual is completed, no matter who he is, the monarch cannot recognize this person as a real knight. The king addressed the warrior by name for the first time. He responded. The emperor orders to kneel before him. The knight hesitated, and Iv took his hand from behind, as if hinting. They looked at each other. The guy smiled and walked forward. The subject knelt before the emperor, who approached him. Toth touched the boy's forehead. Hua Zuo Desmond, Dominic Hadelamid is called Michaelis Agnido, generated by alchemy. Obey the carriers of imperial blood. He must not dare to go against his masters and cannot resist their will from now on until their last breath. This is the highest priority of the homunculus. Let it be so. The emperor released his hand. Now the monarch ordered the boy to kiss the ground at his feet. Iv looked at her father with a frightened look. She remembered that slaves were subjected to such humiliation 2 centuries ago. But if she goes against her father, it will kill the floating prison monster. But Michael bowed and did what was required of him, clenching his fist at the same time. Then the two of them went for a walk in the garden. The sun was shining and the weather was pleasant. The faces of the guys were unhappy. The lady is interested in how the knight feels now? It was completely different than when it was her, answered the guy. Ive did not understand, but the knight explained, when the girl captured him. He had never felt such a disgusting feeling. The princess felt sorry for the guy. She held out her hand to him and wanted to touch him, Michael reminded. He is her knight, and he has no will but hers. The lady touched the companion's forehead and praised him. He was able to overcome himself before the emperor. And now she is ready to defend her knight. He promises that this will never happen again. The guy's faces brightened, and the lady suggested the knight return. When the guy was with his mistress, he felt as if there were no problems at all. 4 people were sitting at a table in a green corner near beautiful flowers. Marquis Chensley, the main shareholder of the Third Empire, who supports Bridget financially and politically, appealed to Her Highness. He heard rumors about the 7th princess choosing a personal knight. And this is a floating prison monster. Interestingly, why such changes? Just think. A recluse who never visited anything beyond the library went to such a thing. This opinion was expressed by the head of the Empire's military affairs, Bridget's relative, Marquis Raimkal. He did not say that the 7th princess was so different from her usual self at the morning meetings, noted the advisor to the Minister of War, Vice-Chancellor Fritz. The 7th princess is aware of the need to have a personal knight. Her Highness smiles. It seems that she decided to join the battle for the throne. There are no other reasons for such changes, Bridget reminded the guests. the sister chose only one guardian. What will change? IV lacks any foundation, so let those around you leave vain experiences. Vice Tessa Fritz had bad premonitions. Her Highness does not want to talk about it, as there are more important matters. The homunculus on duty nearby chuckled. The vicar rarely gets so excited. The warrior still wonders what the 7th princess and her knight are up to? And Eve was hosted by Sidella in her hall. Asks how are the new servants. As expected from the 3rd empress. Simply excellent, answered the maid. Newbies look sincere and devoted. If Sidella herself says so, then they really sent good guys, says the lady. She will now entrust the faithful servant with affairs outside the palace instead of the household. First, Sidella must go to the blacksmith's, Maid suggested. Should I order a sword for Sir Agnito? Yes, that's right. Then, as the hostess already said, you need to finish the preparation of the alchemical workshop. Sidella understood everything. Interested, are there still orders? Iv thought, and asked the maid to look at a decent estate south of the Ravello River. Although the price of houses there will soon increase, so it will be a good investment. Mistress asked Sidella to choose a mansion to her liking. Eve was left alone after the maid left. Hey, in order to enter the struggle for the throne, certain conditions must be met. The impression of Michael is only the beginning, which designates a lady in social circles. The next task is material support. It can be solved when Sidella finishes preparing the workshop. The most serious problem is ahead. The first candidate for the throne is the 3rd Princess Bridget. The reason why it is such lies in many achievements. But the main factor is the number of supporters of the sister. She has more of them than anyone else. IV also needs such people, they will be able to resist the enemies. And if you think about it, Rose's upcoming birthday party is an opportunity not to be missed. People with whom you need to establish contact at the reception have already been provided. Now it remains to wait for the maid to complete the tasks. I thought about it. Is Michael training now? Will not collide with other members of the imperial family? Iv is afraid that he might not meet Rose like he did in the past. If only they did not cross paths before the 8th princess was captured. Although it's probably not worth worrying about, and Michael was busy with the sword in the study hall. 2 other homunculi were looking at him. They discussed the monster of the floating prison, which became the personal knight of the 7th princess. It seems to the guys that their colleague has come to his senses after being imprisoned, and if he had submitted to his imperial majesty from the very beginning, then there would be no need to hang out there. The warriors are sure. Michael noticed the incoming golem out of the corner of his eye and rushed towards it. A powerful blow with the sword and the creature split into pieces. The gentleman stood amazed. Indeed, he is a monster. The fighter sat down on the bench and held his head. He did not notice how a silver-haired homunculus approached him, praising his skill with a sword. The silver-haired one asks the novice to control the force, since the cost of repairing the golem will require Her Highness the 7th princess. He handed a container of water to his friend. Agito understood everything and thanked him. Michael introduced himself and called himself the personal knight of the 7th princess. He asks who is in front of him. Enlisted in the Sylvestian Night Guard Millard. He answered. Chosen by the 8th princess? A new question. Yes, that will start again. He answered, but Millard came to the guy with a question. After sealing with the imperial family, are the rumors about the change true? It seems that there is a certain edge. So far, Michael has not experienced any special emotions. But after recording, the priorities changed in some natural way, and it's a little strange. That is, after the ceremony, you will have to give your soul to the 8th princess? Upset Sylvestian. Michael allowed it, and Millard doesn't know if it's a good thing. The novice looked at the guardsman. Apparently there is an august one who left an imprint on the ego's soul. And again, for their own, the imperial family is all hypocrites anyway. Agnito thinks he still doesn't like it. He also spoke about changes in priority that arose naturally. Why did you change your mind now? Sylvestian asks. He said, maybe. I'm not sure, answered the newcomer. Michael asks the guardsman not to think badly, but even when it's difficult, you need to have your own point of view. All the same, when the homunculi get annoying, they just get rid of them. Is Her Highness the 7th princess too? Asks Millard. Can she get rid of Michael? They looked at each other in silence for a couple of seconds. Finally, Sylvestian apologized to his colleague. I dare not think about it because even Rose is not like that. Millard thanks for the friend's conversation, and it prevents him from training as he thinks. Michael also reciprocated. He hasn't talked to anyone like that for a long time. The couple shook hands and planned a joint workout. Michael went outside with heavy thoughts. For a moment, he lost his mind. Because of what Sylvestian said about the princess? But his question is more than logical. Even Rose is also part of the imperial family, so she can. He doesn't understand why he got so angry. Is this the effect of imprinting? Suddenly he was called, but almost immediately the princess herself ran up. Why did you come here? She could have called. He came to her first. The girl was just walking and decided to stop by. He asks, how is his life at the palace? Answer, it is possible to live even peacefully. Other members of the imperial family did not molest. They discussed only on the educational base, but did not agree. I am happy with this state of affairs. She offered to take a walk and look at one place. Soon they came to a beautiful greenhouse. The warrior appreciated the local beauty. He never thought to see such a thing in life. The princess is glad that he liked it. Michael touched the branches of a certain plant. Is this the same principle as miraculous magic that causes extreme weather conditions? He asked. Is it possible to maintain a certain temperature of the environment? Unbelievable. According to Ive, the satellite said everything correctly and noted his insight. The greenhouse itself is the fruit of magic, alchemy, and flowers. Michael believes that he is not given to understand alchemy, but here he understood what role magic plays here. This place has a really strong magical structure and mana flows. I've remembered, homunculi cannot use alchemy. These persons gifted with magic. People sometimes think that they are just as strong in alchemy, but in fact, homunculi do not own it. In the Imperial Alchemical Book of Harmony, this is explained by the providence of nature. Just as people are not able to use the power of the Creator, homunculi created with the help of alchemy cannot use it. On the other hand, they are initially incapable of creation. That's why they say they lack reproductive function, Iv thought. But she remembers the presence of a child with Rose from Michael. If this is true, how did it happen? Can the answer lie in the Philosopher's Stone, to which the Emperor and his heirs have access? The warrior paid attention to the pensive princess. What's wrong with her? Is she worried about something? I barely thought about how to make a child. Homunculus is almost panicked by such an answer. Even Rose woke up. No, that's not what she's talking about. The guy reminded the homunculi about the impossibility of having children. She knows about it. Michael is worried. Why was the lady looking at him? What did she mean? The princess refutes. Nothing like that happened. I just wonder if these creatures are completely barren. That's why the warrior is interested. Why is the lady talking about this and looking at Michael? No, she was looking in front of her, not him. Let him not think, assures the princess. I've decided to leave the greenhouse and ask the knight to go first. He obeyed and went. The girl regretted the words spoken aloud. Rose's birthday finally came. Iv took a bath, took care of her hair and skin, and got tired. Sedella brought tea and told how the 8th princess had been trying to seal for 2 hours, although it usually takes time. But Rose had no talent for alchemy, so she performed the sealing ceremony 5 times. In the end, the lady completed the ritual thanks to a couple of shards of the Philosopher's Stone, but it was kept secret. Sedella is interested. Will the 8th princess be able to successfully complete the ceremony? I am sure there is nothing for them to worry about. The sister always gets what she wants. And what about Michaelis? Asked the lady. According to the maid, it has been a long time since Sir Agneto arrived here. His preparation is taking place in the living room right now. The lady is satisfied with this. The maid says that today's soldier must correspond to Her Highness. That's why he came earlier. True, such methods cannot be called easy. The lady agrees. Clarified. It is necessary to welcome the guests. It is not necessary to be until the end. Sedella does not think that this is necessary. According to the maid, Sir Agneto must be with the mistress at all times. Right. The housekeeper is ready to take the mistress to the guest room. They headed for the door. They went inside and saw the servants around Michael. The girls were indignant. Princess, after all, they haven't finished yet. The knight sitting in the robe saw the hostess and stood up, baring his athletic torso. Ive looked at the face of the knight. God, what did he do with him? Too weird? The warrior is interested. Do you like the princess? The maid asks a question. The homunculus has starry night makeup that emphasizes shining eyes. According to the masters, the maid Fiona clearly wields a dangerous weapon. Now she hopes that Her Majesty will like this evening, too. An excited housekeeper is asked to calm down and she shuts up. The second maid asks Sir Agnito to sit down and look forward only. Eve is afraid to disturb everyone, so he decides to move away. Michael reassures, everything is fine. He is not uncomfortable. But the lady still leaves because he is not comfortable. The knight asks the lady to stay because he is wearing something like this for the first time. While the guy was being collected, Iv admired him and for the first time, in general, saw the homunculus like this. Maybe it's the imprinting effect. Now he depends on the mistress? She became restless. I decided to stay. A boy servant came up. He talks about the need to apply makeup on Michael's body, so he takes his clothes. Does the body also need makeup? Not very happy knight. Of course, the dignity of the ego will be emphasized for the sake of necessity. The neck, clavicles, pectoral muscles, and abdomen should be highlighted, said the servant boy. According to Iv, the imperial court was especially strict about clothing because of its authority. Even if you have to be a little patient, Michael, says the lady. The warrior saw his parade costume. He cannot be called strict. In the social world, a woman's taste is in the center of attention. A tape was brought to Sir Agnito. It should be worn by both guards and knights who are placed under direct control. This is a black lace blindfold. In a crowded place, she clearly distinguishes between homunculi and aristocrats, so that the former cannot maintain eye contact with anyone. And they will emphasize once again that homunculi are mindless dolls. Although the imperial positions became shaky, they definitely controlled the situation, even psychologically. Of course, homunculi have been working for monarchs for several centuries, says the princess. They announced the completion of the sealing ritual at Rose. It took a lot of time. Sir Millard became an immediate knight of the 8th princess. Iv regrets that I chose Mai with Hale and not Sylvestian, asked Agnito, but he reminded me that her knight is now here, in front of her. The girl smiled. No, she doesn't regret it. The warrior believes that the lady speaks warmly of Sylvestian. No, there is only Michael for the princess, she admitted. And what about the ego itself? Today he will see Rose, but let him not think of envying Millard. Ive will not allow a personal knight to leave her. The warrior swore to serve only Evenrose. Sedella announced the completion of the ritual and asked the mistress to prepare herself. We must go already. The time has come. Many guests gathered at Rose's birthday. They were surprised because the girl turned 20 years old. How fast time flies. And I already got a personal knight. It seemed to the two girls that the 7th princess passed by them. They remembered hearing and her seclusion. So what should she do on her birthday? Evenrose and Michael, whose eyes were covered with the same tape, entered the hall. The guests were shocked. It turned out that the rumors were true. Rumor has it that the 7th princess has hired a personal knight. And Iv asked the companion, how was the first banquet? Toth answered, it seems that now it is clear what people were talking about. What is their plan? Ev is going to establish contacts on the subject, who can be useful to her. And how can Michael help? No, he just needs to stand next to him. His beauty is the strength of the 7th princess. He is ready to do everything possible. Also, the lady asks to immediately inform her if one of the brothers or sisters approaches. Lady sighed and made an important decision. They need to start. The Hadelamite Empire is built on magic and alchemy. The source of its power is the Philosopher's Stone. He became the most important resource. Baron Parnello got the management of the mine for mining magic stones. I've heard that his aristocratic family rebelled against Bridget in the past. It seems that it will be possible to gain their support. A modest lady stood in front of a table with drinks and could not decide on a choice. Ive came. She says that this drink is very strong, but she can offer the guest fruit juice. What does she, Baron Parnello's wife, think about this? The girl looked frightened at the lady who had come and did not have time to thank her. Having learned who was in front of her, the aristocrat's wife bowed and greeted Her Highness, but she reciprocated. I heard that immediately after the wedding, the guest took care of the Baron, who worked a lot. Did she come today with her husband? Asked the princess. After all, she had heard a lot about their love. Did they come together? How could a baron leave his wife all alone? The lady was amazed. She liked these words of the hostess. Probably the lady's husband is really very busy. Yves was not far behind. According to the guest, he has a lot of work. He works constantly. The wife also began to study so that she could help her lover at least a little. Ivy does not skimp on praise. It is incredible, but the guest is such a sensible woman. She is confident that everything will work out. The Baron's wife thanks again for such kind words. The princess remembered. The lady has been married for 6 months, and this year will be the first summer that the Baron and his wife will spend together. And the Raktora River near the Parnello estate is the cause of terrible floods every 50 years. The princess advises the guest and her spouse to be careful in this rainy season. The guest heard about it for the first time. The princess reported that she learned about it from archival imperial books, and this is repeated every 50 years. And after each rainy season, monsters always attack. If the flood destroys the wall, the consequences will be terrible. The guest may not believe this, says Yves, so she orders the maid to find the appropriate materials for her. The fourth asks the Baron's wife to visit her before returning to the estate, but she promised to do it and thanked the good princess again. The latter is satisfied with the work done. That's enough for today. People in the hall admired the sociability and openness of the seventh princess. She is so sweet, and the guests decided to come and talk to the lady. The Knight of the Crown person was no less interested in them. This was watched by sisters and brother 4. They wanted to do something to solve this problem with IV, but they didn't know how exactly. They don't understand, but why did she start behaving like that? But they still decided to approach her. Bridget, who was also standing, ordered her knight to do everything as needed. While Yves was chatting with the guests, Michael noticed the 4th princess and the 5th prince approaching. The lady told the people that she wanted to go for a walk and thanked them for the company. The guests are delighted. For them, it is an honor. The beggar princess comes to them for the ball. In the end, the guys got away from the pursuit. Yves thinks it's thanks to the knight. Suddenly, she staggered and almost fell, she explained. She simply hadn't worn shoes for a long time. Can't the princess lighten her weight with magic? Michael asked. She can, but then her gait will not be so graceful. Michael asked the lady to sit on the sofa by the window, and he himself knelt in front of her. He took her leg in his hands and used the simplest magic to relieve the girl. Did he learn this in training camp? Yves thought in fear. The guys looked to the side and saw a man approaching them. It was in a bent state. I was waiting for the 7th princess. Spoke first. The lady did not recognize the guest, but he explained. Albert Redman, she clearly heard about him. The guy was impressed by how skillfully the lady chooses people. It dawned on the lady. Yes, this is Albert Redman. The 2nd son of Count Redman is now part of the State Council. In the future, he will become a greedy and depraved person. The council came. He said that they had heard about him. I've remembered how he got the leadership position only thanks to his father, the Count. Albert was always cheerful, but once he was demoted. True, with the help of the power of the parent, the young man got a position at the treasury. Since then, Albert began to manage the money of the budget and embezzled it. Iviao was also a victim of ego. How much money did Albert steal from the princess's treasury? It was thanks to him that the lady did not receive any profit from the events in the imperial palace. Yves tried to complain several times, but Albert cleaned up after himself and had nothing to show for it. If you think about it, he is really talented in different things. Michael, holding his hand in front of the princess, asked, Does she know this person? Yes, he knows. Got it. It turns out Albert was closely following those with whom she communicated. It is not necessary to make such an enemy. Nice to meet you, Redman, smiles Yves. The Count is also delighted. He wanted to talk to the lady from the very beginning. He expected that she would choose him and believed that the lady would not judge a guest based on hearsay. Albert denies that he is hopeless, and the rumors are spread by his boss, Count Sanchez. But everything is fine, because the princess judges people by their actions. Albert's father has a bad relationship with Count Sanchez. The guy was demoted when his boss was in charge of the state council. It turns out that Albert's words can be true. Maybe in the past life he was also deceived by Count Sanchez. But the lady will give the guy another chance. Count Redmond considers it necessary to return to the state council. According to the guest, why should he go where he is not welcome? Today, there were many victims at the rose sealing ceremony, says Iv. She saw the end of the ritual, which ended before the start of the banquet. There is a guess that the action ended thanks to something special, with the help of the Philosopher's Stone. I am sure that nothing should tarnish the name of the August ones. He thinks that everyone in the state council is busy destroying evidence. The princess hopes that Albert will help the lady in this matter. The count is delighted and is ready to go there right away. After all, ego specialization is documents. Ivy hopes he will make it, but the count has already fled, promising to check how things are going there. Did not forget to thank the lady. The guys were left alone. Previously, Iv had kept the fact of Sister Rose's use of 2 fragments of the Philosopher's Stone a secret. She tried well, but if this is how Albert will attract the attention of the bosses, he will have no reason to be a swindler. Ive would not have said that the Count had offended her before. Michael gets worried and asks if the lady is okay. He suggested moving to another place. She leaned on the knight and asked him to stand in this position. He asked, "Do her legs still hurt?" Answer, "No, I was just worried." She did not think that Albert would be here waiting for the princess. I was afraid it would mess up. The knight thinks she killed 2 birds with 1 stone today, and in general, did she rest at least a little? No, she answered, because they don't know when Rose might appear. We entered the first door and saw several guys there. They are almost done. These are aristocrats studying at the Gnosis Imperial Academy. Among them are members of the state council. For example, the son of Count Rendell and the son of Marquis Limitiello. Although all the children were successful, this one was left with the right to inherit, all because he was not older. But these 2 suddenly won the title. For 4, they are ideal candidates who can become associates. In the room, the princess asks Michael to stay away. The reason is simple. The lady wants to use her charm. In this world, women's power depends on their husbands and partners. Iv doesn't know the guys in the room, so they just have to step forward and rely on themselves. The princess must enlist the support of at least one of these people. Someone will become her ally today. She came closer and asked permission to sit next to them. Calix Limitiello asks his friend to give way to the lady and invites her to sit next to him. For the girl, this guy was different from who she imagined herself to be. According to rumors, this aristocrat has no manners. I've thanked her, but didn't understand why Calix was behaving like that. Did we talk about Gnosis? Can she join the conversation? The girl admitted that she was always interested in the academy. The guys didn't know where to start. They began to tell how there are things that must be seen with one's own eyes. Eve only smiled. It seemed to her that everything was going well. But Her Highness's glass is empty. The guys suddenly noticed. The aristocrats got excited and started offering glasses of drink. She didn't understand why they were so fixated on it. Brandy is in the container, not soda. I remembered the rule in the Empire. Rudely rejecting the first glass that the other person gives has not emptied the ego. They did it on purpose. Calix offered to give the glasses to him if Her Highness did not want to drink. The rule allowed to pass the container to a person who did not offer the opponent a drink. But if IV gives him a glass, then he undertakes to fulfill the request of such a person. And Calix, the only one who did not offer the lady a drink. That is, it can be transferred only to an emu. Is this some kind of trap? And others? Do they act at the behest of the ego? Can Calix be trusted? What does this person want from a girl? Suddenly, Michael came from behind and drank alcohol. Ive is worried. Is everything okay with him? Calix reported by hearsay about the homuncles. They are immune to poison, so the drink won't hurt him. Agnito reminded, he must take care of the host. Ivy decided to leave here and thank the aristocrats for entertaining them with a pleasant conversation. The knight is told about the need to walk a little. On the balcony, Michael reminded her, she has him, the princess admitted. Previously, she had no one to help, so she got used to doing everything herself. There is a high level of booze, the knight remarked. He believes that the guys did it on purpose. But she knew about it. Earlier, the girl was so often mocked, and Michael insensitive to alcohol. Therefore, if that happens, let him drink. I've thanks the guy. And she likes to see ego on her side. Sylvestian stood in the bedroom and watched as the maids dressed Rose. I wonder what it's like to be a Knight of the White Rose? The guy admitted, it is a great honor for him. Little did she know that he would say that. Once he became her warrior, he must be the best in the world. Sylvestian understood this and will not disappoint the mistress. This will not happen because she chose the ego, says Rose. They entered the hall and all around began to greet the 8th princess and her personal knight. The guests are delighted and I give compliments. The ladies are getting better every year. Is the knight nearby? He has white hair, so he is special. Of course, only such a person can correspond to an August person. It is not for nothing that she is called the White Rose. Rosenite heard all this and was satisfied. I knew I did everything right and I didn't make a mistake. I chose this night. And the guests continued to congratulate the birthday girl on her birthday. Rose saw older brothers in the crowd who were waiting for her, but the boys were driving the girl mad. Millard was seen with her. Disgruntled. Did he make her tense up like that today? I had to spend a number of artifacts. The night was expensive. The brothers got Rose. Why did they tell everyone about her lack of abilities? Bridget also came with congratulations. Rose thanks her sister with surprise, but she had to say warm words to her lover in honor of the celebration. Bridget praised her sister for the best night available. Probably it was difficult to take the ego. There were many who wanted to get him, but they did not succeed. Rose is really special. Again, words of congratulations to the girl. Sylvestian apologized to Rose for the trouble he had caused. He will repay her for all the hardships she had to go through with her own loyalty. The knight knelt down and kissed the lady's hand in front of everyone. Rose appreciated the guard's insight, though he must have understood it. She asked Sir Millard to get up from his knees. He obeyed. All this happened under the eyes of even Rose and Michael. For them, this scene is like a fairy tale. I have looked at her sister. So far, everything is going well. She chose Millard because she liked him. And Michael is now the knight of the 7th princess, so everything should be in order. Michael again? No, this cannot be allowed. The knight interrupted the thoughts of the mistress and informed about the departure of the 3rd princess. She sighed and suggested that they also go there. Ive didn't want to meet Rose, but now there is no choice. It is necessary to congratulate the hostess of the holiday. I reassured myself. Everything will be fine. Nothing will happen. But people were already shouting that the 7th princess had come to congratulate Rose. Both princesses only recently acquired knights. I wonder what they will say to each other. True, the spirit of rivalry is in the air. The guests also heard about the special devils of Sir Agnito. Ego was called the floating prison monster. Moreover, the 7th princess has proven herself perfectly, before the 8th came. She was the center of attention of this banquet. Eve congratulated Rose on her coming of age and wished her to remain as beautiful. The birthday girl thanked for the kind words. Even Rose noticed that her sister was upset by people's reactions, I've decided, and then leaves until sparks began to fly between them. She wished her sister a nice time today and got ready to leave. But Rose pointed at Michael. Hey, won't they present a homunculus? The 4th was frightened by the relative's interest in the personal knight, but she allowed it but clenched her fists. I understood. It's just an acquaintance. She introduced each other to each other and got scared again. Rose fell silent. Rose held out Michael's hand for a kiss. Ivy's heart sank. She did not understand what her future sister villain had in mind. Rose had never reached out for a kiss herself before. Iv herself thought that she should be careful only before the sealing ceremony. But no. And now Michael's eyes are partially hidden by a bandage, and this is simple courtesy, and Rose can do so as an exception. She probably thinks that if she gives him the honor of kissing the hand of the imperial White Rose, he will immediately fall in love with her and forget about his mistress. Iv was looking at the birthday girl. That's so stupid, Rose. The knight almost touched the hand of the 8th princess with his lips and then raised his eyes. He greets Her Highness again, but officially. Lady reciprocated. Iv was sad. She didn't want their meeting to go like this. She looked at Michael and was surprised. He was imperceptibly wiping his hand, pretending to fix the bandage. The happy girl quietly began to laugh. His Majesty the Emperor appeared in the hall. Blessing and glory to the son of Galamut. The monarch approached the birthday girl and congratulated her on her birthday. The lady is happy to come to the celebration. The emperor came in for a short time, later intends to return to work and asks for understanding. Rose asks not to say so because her father organized such a party for her. He also took the time to come personally. The fourth came up and greeted the emperor. He noticed the daughter. She explained that she also had to congratulate her sister. The father is pleased. The girl has become so intelligent. The emperor announced a gift for Rose. It is located in the eastern part of the palace. There, the ruler built a garden of white roses for the birthday girl. Rose is delighted and thanks her parent for this. And people were already starting to compare the two sisters. Exclamations were heard. Here the emperor gave the 8th princess a whole garden. This is so generous. And what about the 7th princess? But she was upset. She will have to behave like an unloved and unlucky daughter of the monarch. People also look at 4. They say they didn't give her anything, but she's also the ruler's daughter. Michael shook the lady's hand. She was a little surprised, but appreciated the guy's concession. Even in this situation, he does not leave her. Unexpectedly, the emperor suggested that 4 choose something she wanted. He must congratulate his daughter on the election of a knight. The girl is happy, but the ruler asks not to be surprised. She is his daughter. The father gives his daughter time to think. But there is no need for that. Ivy already knows what he wants. She wants to move. Don't you like the place where the lady lives now? The emperor was surprised. There is little space and it is lonely. And Yves wants a dressing room where you can store things and accessories. I also wanted a sunny balcony with a beautiful view of the palace. The emperor is confused. Isn't there a dressing room where Yves is now? How is it? Can a princess live in such a room? What are the managers of the palace doing? These are bribes. The outraged ruler. Ivy thought bitterly in her heart. He himself left his daughter there unattended. But it would be nice if it helps. Even Rose reminded her father that today is Rose's birthday. So don't be angry and spoil your mood. The father agrees and understands the need to calm down for the sake of the birthday girl. I thought about Ives' request. And then everything was decided. He would give her a room of fresh greenery in the Eastern Palace. The other princesses in the hall twisted their faces out of anger when they heard it. Once the room has a name, it is a much greater gift than a garden. Until now, only the 3rd princess had such a place. Yves bowed to her father and thanked him for the gift. The emperor promised to come when his daughter moved there. She promised to make him a wonderful tea, but she was worried about her parents' desire to visit her new rooms. In parting, the emperor wished the guests and children a good time. The guests immediately whispered. The monarch seems to be in favor of the 7th princess. Perhaps in the future, the distribution of political forces will change. The guests called the new room 4, the most beautiful in the Eastern Palace, and were sure that the ruler cared very much about the 7th princess. They asked to be invited to her somehow. The girl only agreed to do it. Ahead, Yves saw the younger Countess Anais Luciard. For a girl, this is the most important guest today. She tried to break through the crowd of guests in the hall to her. She thanked them for the pleasant talks, but explained that she wanted to rest. Her associate Chensley, who was standing next to Bridget, noticed that the 7th princess has been behaving strangely lately, even receiving a room from the ruler. But the lady smiles and does not object. For the first time in her life, the sister did the right thing. Therefore, the father was happy and decided to reward his daughter. This is exactly how Bridget interprets the parents' concession. If she considers a one-dayer who will soon be out of favor, she will not even be present at the Privy Council. Chensley agrees. And despite these actions of the emperor, the first candidate for the throne will always be the 3rd princess. Bridget drew attention to the deputy Fritz, who was standing next to her. If she is so worried, the princess will try to learn more about her rival. So don't worry. Here they saw the younger Countess Anais Luciard. Chensley calls her the owner of a bathtub installation business. Apparently, she came to Bridget. We are surprised that this lady has not given up yet. Really persistent. Her letters are not even read, but she is still waiting for an answer. The unfortunate countess finally saw Bridget, but she demonstratively turned around and left. The princess considered the guest unworthy of her attention. Let Count Luzier do it. And luckily, Michael felt sorry for Eve, who was very tired in his opinion. He suggested finding a quiet place and rest. The girl remembered many such places in the mansion. Did the Pearl Room creep into your mind? The Imperial Palace is full of debauchery and temptations. This audience is created for those who want to relax during the banquet. But one day, the guests saw a man and a woman who were not married enter the Pearl Room. Since then, this place has often figured in various gossips. Therefore, this space became officially used for sudden sexual relations. Four and her knight went there. The girl sat down on the sofa and asked Michael not to worry. She didn't even think about any depravity. Finally, she can rest. She invited the knight to the sofa. He is also on his feet all day today, obviously tired. If the princess wants, the warrior will carry out the order. He sat down and asked, "Are they here together?" I've pointed to the curtain. The golden ribbon means that there is someone else. But it's really quiet here. She explained. The room is soundproof. External and internal sounds are blocked here. She turned to the knight. He is strong in attacking magic. Maybe the barrier magic is a bit confusing for the warrior. Did the princess talk about her fascination with magic? Now Michael was interested. Ivy studied a wide range of magical powers and their combination with each other. But she is terrible at attacking magic. The girl has absolutely no talent for it. The knight regrets, but he is glad that the hostess's offensive magic is unavailable. After all, Michael is now the sword of the princess, so she does not need to rush into the fight herself. Eve looked at him. Thanks to the sealing ritual, the guards always say something similar. This is the norm for them. The seventh princess smiled and asked the knight to protect her. Toth agrees. Hey, for some reason, my heart felt warm. They looked towards the exit. It seems that the evening has come to an end. Lady asked to bring one person to her. 3 years ago, the head of the construction company, Count Luzier, presented the third princess with a project for the construction and operation of public baths on this yellow island. His daughter Anais is confident that the profit will be small. Bridget agrees with the girl about the profit of this enterprise. But all this is aimed at improving the island. According to the August person, this is an honorable mission for Count Luzier himself. He also owns the best construction company in the empire. Bridget is confident that this project suits him. In this regard, the third princess offers the entrepreneur a project. But let him say if he does not want to marry. There are many others willing to deal with this issue. Luzier was silent, and the lady took it as consent. This is his contribution to the empire. Anais was sure that Bridget then manipulated her father, and he ended up sealing the construction agreement. Who knew that such a disaster would happen? The price of magic stones for heating water has skyrocketed. And it is very expensive for the company. And fire cannot be used due to fire prevention regulations. If nothing is done, financial problems will arise and the company will go bankrupt. But the third princess ignored Anais. How is it? Suddenly, a homunculus approached the girl and introduced himself. Michael Agneto. His mistress, the seventh princess, wants to meet a businesswoman. She was already going to leave. The knight asks to come to his mistress. She will not take much time to visit. The third princess continues to ignore her requests. Anais thought again. She agrees to come to 4, but if it's not for long. She watched this and surprise rose. Anais came to Evie's. The girls greeted each other. The younger countess does not understand why she was called here. The princess heard about the problem with Count Luzier due to the imperial order, but even Rose can help here. Ive knows that Bridget does not accept the entrepreneur. The third princess has long been aware that the prices of magic stones will soon skyrocket due to the decrease in their number. But the August person did it on purpose. She plans to buy Count Lucier's ruined company at a bargain price and give it to Chensley. The Huando reconstruction project will soon become profitable. He will also entrust his associate. But the Chensley company is one of the 3 leading companies in the entire empire. It turns out that after taking over Count Luzier's company, the third princess will gain influence in the financial market. Thought a sad Anais. True, confirmed Iv. Now Bridget gathers around herself a worthy environment and tries to build strong connections with businesses for support. Anais recalled the difficult times in their company, but now it is clear to the younger countess where Chensley suddenly got money from. Do they buy magic stones? The girl is interested. Yes. Now only business giants can afford them in large quantities. All this creates a very tense situation in the market. If the fact of the purchase is known, they will have problems. Anais realized that their company was in a difficult situation because of the magic stones. The businesswoman is angry. After all, the third princess knew perfectly well about everything. The unhappy countess burst into tears. She believed Bridget to the end. Ifo asked not to blame the lady herself. She is ready to help her in this case. Anais is happy and calls Iv a savior. She is also looking forward to the opening of the soap business, which the princess wrote about earlier. The countess is very tired of problems. The emperor's daughter smiles. She offers the guest to return home and rest a little. But the third princess is clearly watching Anais closely now. Therefore, it is better if she stays here for a short time to avoid suspicion. The guest will do so. The girl said goodbye. I am sure that this will be enough to prevent the evil sister from receiving strong financial support. Then she may or may not weaken fire prevention measures, and it will be possible to avoid a fire in a public bathhouse. It was a terrible disaster, the victims of which were more than 300 people. 4 should prevent this, and her first step against Bridget will be exactly this. I remembered the night. What does he do? I went out into the corridor, but the guy was not here. Rose was unhappy. The seventh princess. What is everyone thinking about? Today is Rose Knight's birthday. The girl was embarrassed. Also, Sister 4 went somewhere with her personal knight. Really, in the Pearl Room? This pissed off the birthday girl. Suddenly ahead, she saw Sir Agnito, who was walking with some lady. Where is he taking her? Did the sister ask the guy about it? I noticed that they are really going to the Pearl Room. Really? Dirty thoughts crept into Rose's head. Why did Iv dare so sharply? The birthday girl first wanted to capture her knight, and then the lady wanted to check his professional suitability down there. But now she must prevent her sister's knight and herself. I saw how the guest entered the room herself, and Michael was waiting in the corridor. 4. Are you there alone? Is this not what the 8th princess thought? At first, she wanted to interfere with her sister, but now it seems a more interesting matter has arisen. Rose approached Sir Agnito. He bowed and was glad to greet her again. She did not understand why he was alone. Very suspicious. From the very beginning, Rose felt that there was some kind of strange tension between them. Sister 4 in this room? Asks the guard. She wanted to rest alone, says Michael. The princess knew that Iv was not alone there, but decided to pretend that she was not aware of this. He won't go to her? He is a personal knight. The lady continued the interrogation. Shouldn't the 8th princess be with her knight? Now Michael is interested. She answered, I just wanted to be alone. It's commendable, assured the guy, but he asked the lady to always take Sir Millard with her. If he is so worried, can he guide the ladies? Almost demands the 8th princess. He remembered the oath of loyalty, so he could not refuse the request of a representative of the imperial family, and he cannot disturb his mistress during such an important conversation for the sake of some permission. He took Rose's hand, gladly, but felt a terrible revulsion in reality. For the night, it was worse than when he gave an oath of loyalty to the emperor himself. Michael will take the ladies to the garden. And Eve was looking for his ego in the corridor, but met Sir Sylvestian. Why is he alone? He asks. The warrior was looking for the 8th princess. Eve mentally panicked. Did Rose go somewhere with Michael? And her sister walked with the knight Agnito on the evening square of the palace. He complains about the fast movement of the satellite. Michael apologized, but Rose kept up. Now she doesn't like his reticence. And again, the guard apologizes. The lady stopped and wants to see the guy's face without a bandage. Will he allow her? And Rose reached out her hand to the young man's face. But these are meaningless words. The homunculus is asking for something, with no owner nearby. It is equivalent to an order that cannot be disobeyed. The hand reached out to Michael, but he could not move. How he wanted to not be touched now. But unexpectedly, Iv stood between the knight and Rose. She asks her sister, why does she bring in other people's guards? Sir Agnio saw the birthday girl alone and offered to escort her. I was sure it was a lie. The seventh princess told how she met Sir Millard, who was looking for his mistress. The girl just had to wait. Rose smiled playfully. Really? It's a pity. They apparently got away. IV recommends that female relatives only walk with their own knight from now on. But forced to agree, and Sylvestian offered her to leave. Rose didn't want to walk anymore. And everyone in the hall was probably waiting for her, as she thought. Now Michael is a personal knight 4. But what happened now? If only everything would not be the same as before. Michael is glad that his mistress came on time. Hey, interesting. What happened here? The guy explained. The 8th princess wanted to remove the ego bandage. This would mean the need for the homunculus to carry out all orders at night. But didn't Rose know that? 4th asks for forgiveness from a personal knight for leaving him. He believes that she should not ask for forgiveness. Ready to take her to her room. A week later, they walked around the palace, and Michael said that the lady had ignored many guests. Lady is confident. Her authority in the world has grown significantly. And it was not easy to read all the letters. Ive was able to implement all her plans for the near future. Among them is a sword for a knight, production of soap in an alchemical workshop, and others. Everything was going absolutely wonderful for the 7th princess. She wanted that to continue. Is the place where they are going part of the hostess's plan to become the crown princess? Asked Agnito. Yes, and very important part. On the way, they met an acquaintance, Albert Redman. Say hello, long time no see, said Iv. Just here, so how does he want to learn about imperial state affairs? The guy is interested. That's why this girl is here. And imperial public activity. Simply put, these are social activities performed by members of the crown-bearing family. This includes both small donations and sponsorships, and also various business trips. A high rating of public activity allows you to intervene in politics. Due to Ive's non-interference, her position in this regard is much worse than Bridget's. To be able to influence state affairs, you need to raise your own activity. Albert invited the lady to look at the catalogs he had brought. She opened one and saw a photo of the conditions at the Magic Stone mining factory. The lady may consider it inappropriate, but Albert recommends paying attention to the type of activity that will allow the country to boldly step into the future. For example, opening and sponsoring cultural figures. If such people become famous, the significance of the princess herself will increase. The problem is that it will take a long time for them to become famous. In this matter, it is difficult to break through quickly. I agree 4. IV asks to advise some of these projects, which is worth investing in. Albert selected several catalogs. Soon they left their comrade. Mistress trying to accumulate so much social rating for a visit to a mine to extract stones? Asked the knight. The girl smiled. And he is shrewd. Didn't she specially take the guard so that he would show her everything? Michael asks. Yes, there is nothing to hide from him. I agree 4. She intends to test the homunculi at the mine in the first half of the year. The princess wants to rectify the situation as soon as possible. Agnito is pleased, because the lady did not deceive his ego then. Maid Leon rushed towards them. Her Majesty, something has happened. IV entered the room where the Emperor and sisters were waiting for her. His Majesty arrived at the residence. But why is he here? He also took the girls with him. But that's good. Iv decided to study Bridget's personal knight. My sister often changed them. It was confusing. Behind Bridget was Ireso Halston. He was one of those who had served his sister for a long time. She was simply satisfied with her abilities in bed. Ive looked at Ireso and he suddenly started making eyes at her. The girl was forced to turn away. This did not pass by Michael. Bridget complimented the room with fresh greenery. It looks beautiful. Ive agrees and thanks her father for the new home. The Emperor is also pleased. He is glad that she liked it, satisfied with the transfer of the room to the 7th princess. The rest immediately lost their mood. They have rooms without names, so Iv understood the displeasure of her relatives. It seems that the father is happy to seal the 4th night once he gave her some. She has upset Rose. They know that the Emperor appreciates personal achievements in alchemy. The 3rd princess asks the girls not to go beyond what is allowed. They involuntarily obeyed. Bridget turned to her father and shared her thoughts about public work. Is the monarch interested in the reconstruction of Cataluna and innovative projects? Tot is surprised. How did the daughter learn about this? Officials cannot keep their mouths shut at all. Lady has simply been interested in this for a long time, she explained. Bridget is ready to join in the event that the father has a representative related to these matters. So why did she come here? Iv thought. Demonstrates his political interest. To entrust the burned-out Marquis Chensley with a profitable business. The seventh princess now felt like a secondary character. But this time she can't just ignore this topic, even though she doesn't like to intrigue. I've understood. Bridget wants her to openly go against her father for the sake of the homunculi, and for the sake of revenge for the past life. No, this time Iv just has to. Betty is interested in learning about this company? The Emperor asked the third princess. The governor plans to move the slums east of the 14th district to the border zone south of the 27th. Bridget thinks this decision is wise, and Iv, the opposite. The third princess reminded, the 14th district has served as a barrier against the beasts of the Legion Forest for 100 years. But now wild animals have disappeared because of hunters, but the number of attacks has increased in the south. Betty considers her father's decision to improve the state of affairs. Then the price of the 14th district will increase thanks to trade, and on the 27th there will be fewer losses. Amazed by the foresight father, Bridget playfully admires. Todd is satisfied. He knew that his daughter would understand him. I didn't like it all. The thief proposed to oblige the inhabitants of the slums to cultivate the land in the wastelands. Fourth was indignant in her soul. Even though there are poor people who do not pay taxes, but their land will be taken away, they will be forced to cultivate wastelands? Even using people as human shields? The girl was angry, but it was necessary to keep calm. It will be bad if she goes against her father now. The third princess appreciated her sister's behavior and mentally praised her for her good endurance. They are poor but still subjects of the empire. Bridget turned to her father. Do they have a chance to become full citizens through migration? She offered her father to listen to her idea. He doesn't mind. The poor need a job and a home. They can be allowed to buy houses at a low interest rate in new areas, and then send them to an imperial labor camp where there will be work. People will be able to pay monthly payments for houses, suggested the third princess, so the poor will fulfill their civic duty. Good idea, remarked the emperor. I didn't like it. After all, after enrolling the poor in the labor force, they cannot avoid taxes, use them as a human shield, and take money for sending them to a dangerous place. I knew that Betty was still trash, but that's it. Under such conditions, the slum dwellers will refuse to move, said the seventh princess. The sister smiled mischievously. The father watched warily. After the meeting, the knight of the third princess approached Iv, knelt down, took her hand, and kissed it. The lady recoiled in horror. Eraso smiles and asks for forgiveness if she didn't like it. But glad to be able to kiss the lady's hand, Ivy released the knight and he left. The couple glanced at him. Michael thinks it would be right to remove the hand. He is still the personal knight of the third princess, the lady reminded. As it seems to Agneto, his colleague made such a concession not at the behest of the princess. Eve thought that Betty had ordered it so that she could embarrass her sister. But if this is not so, then what is the knight's hidden motive? Eraso Halston. Even knowing that Bridget constantly changes personal guards, he tries to attract her attention. The reason for this is obvious. Betty is the strongest candidate for the post of heir to the throne. Eraso's flirtation with Iv clearly has a motive. If she is careless in her actions, he can go further. Michael remembered the hand for the kiss last time, and this time the knight asks the lady for the same. It seems that in the imperial palace, everyone perceives personal knights as a bargaining chip. There is such a thing. Homunculi are like things for august persons, Iv thought sadly. The lady asks him not to worry. She won't do anything like that. So you should not worry about Eraso? Asked Agneto. The knight considers himself the mistress's main weapon in the race for the crown. She chose him herself, so she will not refuse. The girl agrees with the knight. While she has Michael, others are not needed. He is now her shield and sword. The guy announced the need to prepare, but the hostess is not going to confront Betty in the open. And if she declares war? Agneto is interested. Eve returned to guard. They will need to win, she said. Lady cannot lose his personal knight and will not give his ego to anyone. He realized that the seventh princess had really impressed him. Ivy and her companion said goodbye to the children of the orphanage and the nanny and went back. The girl recalled Albert's advice Redmond is talking about comfortable clothes in which she can walk around the garden, and this will help raise the rating of the seventh princess. She did not think that Michael gets along so well with children. He clearly loves them. Judging by the words of the lady, the boy is an angel, he noted. Thanks to the night, everything was easy. Iv praised the ego. The princess did not want to just go back and suggested a walk around the garden. Now is the time of the festival. The knight agreed. Isn't he tired of calling her a princess even outside the palace? Asked Iv. What do you call ladies then? Surprised guard. Iv, she answered. She asked me to pronounce this name quickly. The guy obeyed without too much joy. Hey, I like it. Ask me to continue and name the lady. Michael appeared in the princess's head. She became sad, but soon the guys cheered up. They ate meat and inhaled flowers. And from the stage, the audience was invited to the performance of the Pegasus troupe. The presenter announced through the loudspeaker that the best singer of the troupe would soon start a solo performance. Iv suggested going to the stage and watching the show. I heard a woman's cry, which asked to leave. Some girl shouted, which is an empty sound for a certain person. Seconds later, she almost crashed into Iv. They met their eyes and looked at each other. From an unexpected collision, the stranger fell to the ground. Michael was standing next to 4. He worries about the mistress, but everything is fine with him. And around the corner, a man waved his fists at the fallen brunette. She will still regret it. She allegedly missed her chance. The man was very angry with this lady named Ramona. Is this the best singer of the empire? Even Eve, who was not interested in culture, had recorded golems with this lady's songs. At the time, Ramona's songs comforted Eve, but now she was not popular yet. The fallen woman looked at the stage where some singer was already performing. She performed the part of Ramona, which she noticed with regret. The girl called that man her last words and wished him nothing less than the worst. She also criticized the troupe. It's so deaf that instead of Ramona, they put this stupid girl without a voice on the stage. Ive drew attention to the character of the singer, but she decided to look at the saviors. Do they have anything to do with her? Ivy handed her a handkerchief with a smile, and she gratefully accepted it. Introduced, Ramona Rund. According to the singer, today she had to stand on the stage. She planned to perform. But the son of the head of the troupe got angry because she refused him. The thief immediately sent the girl away. She has already hung herself in the arms of Ivy. Michael wanted to remove this insolent one, but the lady stopped him. She knew that Ramona had put in a lot of effort to find success. After all, her songs supported 4 in difficult times. Finally, the singer calmed down. He asks to tell where the lady bought the handkerchief, and she will definitely return the same one. But Princess, it is not necessary. They, gypsies, have a custom of reciprocating help, answered Ramona. Iv could not reveal her identity, but now the problem is more important. The lady thinks that her new acquaintance needs help. Consolation is enough. This happens often. She herself is already in order, says Ramona, but we are talking about real help. The singer believes that this is not something that this stranger can help her with. But very soon she was already singing from the stage. The man who kicked her out asked why. Being confused, Ive and Michael, standing in the crowd, looked at the singer. The knight asked, was it necessary to harness for a person who is meeting for the first time? Yes, sponsorship of cultural figures is also part of the duties of the imperial family. The princess simply paid for Ramona's performance. Iv didn't even hear her new friend sing. Is this blind trust? Asked the knight again. A hunch, a strong intuition, answered the princess with a smile. Ramona sang for the audience round. Applause. The princess offered to return home. The singer caught up with them and asked, did this lady help her? Yes. The answer. The gypsy woman asks the girl to give her name. She considers her to be her benefactor, so she cannot let go. She did not know her name. No one held Ivy's hand like that. Not even Sedella. And hugs earlier. This was unusual for a lady, but not unpleasant. She thought about it, but called herself IvhlOehl. The knight reminded the lady about the need to go. The girls said goodbye, and Eve promised the singer to see her again. The guys left, and Ramona stood and looked after them. When they got into the carriage, the princess praised the singing of the gypsies. But now, does Michael believe her? She expects a lot from her new acquaintance in the future. She smiled from pleasant thoughts. While they were riding in the carriage, Eve recalled how she had signed a confidentiality clause and asked the man standing next to her to respect her ego. It is necessary to keep the connection of the imperial family with the common people a secret. For now, at least. Someday it will be revealed, but now it must be hidden. Michael reminded about the permission to call the hostess Eve, but the number of excluded increased. Maybe it's because of a previous precedent with him? The girl smiled. Strange, but it was not unpleasant for the lady. Knight. It seems that this is the culture of common people's behavior. That's how they behave when they have a friend. Then the fact that the lady did not name the real name of the singer is a manifestation of egoism? When they meet next time, I would like to continue communication. She asked the knight if he had friends. Michael knows nothing. In the evening, Agnito came to the homunculi room. Millard was awake. He hasn't been back before midnight for a long time, Michael said to his colleague. Tot replied, Yesterday he was not there at all. And the white rose of the empire is no different from the others, Sylvestian said. Asked Michaelis, did the seventh princess do this with him? He did not respond very kindly. The silver-haired man sadly turned away, apologized for such unnecessary words. Tired, since he allows these conversations. Thought Agnito. Michal asks his colleague to rest, and tomorrow he goes to sparring. He doesn't mind. Finally, he lay down on his bed and looked at Millard again. I remembered the words of the mistress. Does he have a friend? Homunculi are told that there can be no friendship between them. He also thought so, but... At 5 o'clock, he glanced at the sleeping Sylvestian. In the morning, in the office, the Marquis Limitiello, a member of the Privy Council, asked the Emperor about the reason why he asked the seventh princess to be present. He is confident in the girl's mind. The monarch replied that he himself is proud of his daughter. The Emperor informed those present that the project of border migration policy was proposed by Aver. The Marquis was surprised. He remembered the ruler's words about the idea of a princess, but he thought it was the third lady. The Marquis was sure that all the other aristocrats were also thinking about the third princess. Betty has a strong influence on politics, but it's just a rumor. And the idea was from the fourth. In contrast to the last time when there was an informal verbal conversation over tea. Since yesterday, remarks 4 have been recorded and passed on to key people. At that time, Betty constantly tried to pull the blanket over herself, but now everyone was listening to the seventh princess, and the secretaries were writing down her theses. The girl was happy because now people will stop talking only about Betty. The thief was beside herself with all this. I remembered the meeting when the question of using sandworms on fertile lands was raised. Bridget did not like this project. Wouldn't it be more correct if not the Marquise, but the initiator of the idea presented it? But he was silent and the lady understood everything. The proposal came from the author of the immigration project. All these ideas are from Fourth. But how did they know? Betty thought her sister would be silent as before. And now she has reached out to politics? The thief was thinking about all this in the room where there was also a personal knight. Tot decided to behave quietly so as not to fall under the hot hand. But the ladies smelled of perfume so strongly that it was difficult to breathe. Betty kept thinking about Eve. How dare she embarrass her? After all, Eve had to sit in the corner and pretend to be a fool. But instead, the thief grabbed a flower from the pot on the table. She will make the seventh princess pay for entering politics. In the morning, Michael came to the mistress's room, where the maids were already pouring tea for everyone. According to her, there is a little time before the release, so the lady decided to gather everyone and talk. The hostess took such care of the servants that everyone is proud of their service at Ive. Lady must try to thank Michael for his loyalty. She offered everyone to try tea made from herbs that she grows herself. The maids praised the hostess's drink, which made her smile. Agnito had not heard about the planned business for today. Will there be an important event in the palace? He is interested, Sedella explained. On this day, the most prominent women of the country gather in the palace of the Galamut Empire. Therefore, this event is as important as banquets. At the regular tea party of the princesses, mature and august persons meet to discuss political issues. And this is the official definition. It reflects only the surface essence. In fact, this is not just a collection of princesses. The latest news and gossip are discussed there. The main topic of conversation was always the professional ability of the knights at night. Therefore, according to an unspoken rule, they were not taken to the meeting. Sometimes the participants went on to discuss obscene things. Iv didn't like the possibility that she would be stuck between her older sisters and Rose. She turned to Agnito. Knights are not invited to a tea party, so Hugh did not give him the schedule of the day. She looked at the guy. He doesn't seem to understand why they can't go together. I decided to change the topic for conversation. She allowed Michael to return to the hostel. He has no guardian for today. The guard intends to go to the training camp, but if necessary, he asks to call him. I've walked along the corridor and remembered the words of the warrior. He always says that. But today his phrases sounded special. She was also worried about Betty. But she is clearly enraged by her sister's idea of relocating the poor. It's strange that she didn't do anything in response. I've turned to the servants. Did they not forget and fulfill her request? Of course, if anything happens to Sir Agnito, they will immediately tell the lady about it. Hugh reported cheerfully. She is satisfied and asks to pay more attention to it today. The boy servant bowed. He understood everything. I hope nothing happens. But it's already time to go into the room for tea. And Michael watched the homunculi training. The fights were at the highest level, but the fighters did not think about the surroundings when they were fighting. If they are attacked, it is unlikely that the knights will be careful to present a problem for the enemy. Sylvestian came. Michael finished his duties early. What is he thinking about? Not practiced. He thinks about the impossibility of a multi-pronged attack during battles among homunculi, answered Agnito. This is an unexpected thought, but personal knights are always engaged one-on-one. Does the colleague know about the reduction in the volume of production of magical precious stones? Asked the knight of the 7th princess. He knows about it. The Philosopher's Stone is created from solidified space and a conquered magical dragon. At this rate, they will soon have to compete against the magical dragon. Will they form a squad of homunculi for this? Millard asked. Will this also affect personal knights? The problem is, if they continue to fight one-on-one as now, they will die at an early age, most likely, believes Michalis. It is because of this that there were so many victims in previous battles between homunculi and dragons. For Millard, it's amazing. Michalis did not understand him, but he explained. A knight worries about others. He thought to himself, that's right. But why did he decide to think about someone else? The guys said goodbye, but 2 homunculi approached Agnito. Transferred. Ego is looking for. They asked to follow. And when asked who, the guys answered that it was from the imperial family. They could not say anything more and demanded to follow them. The 3 of them walked along the forest lawn. Indeed, to choose a time when he will be alone and bring him here? And it is obvious that the choice fell on this day. What are they up to? A dense protective forest belt where homunculi marched. The sentinel golem won't notice anything here. It was too quiet. A barrier? Michael heard how members of the imperial family chase each other's subordinates. This is done to keep their owners under control. Maybe that's better. If the knight becomes the object of their anger, the princess will remain safe. 4 people approached the trio. First, the 6th princess, Stefania, was indignant about why Betty entrusted such things to her and her brother Derek. He reassured her because the 3rd princess will become an empress in the future, so the guys need to recommend themselves. Bridget harbored a grudge against the 7th princess for the proposed policy of migration from the slums. Stefania released the 2 escorts who brought Agnito, praised them for their work. Michalis realized that they were using the knights to bring the ego. He knelt down and greeted the 6th prince and princess, and named himself. Derek told him to stand. Next, personal knight of the 6th princess Ritbo and personal bodyguard of the 6th prince Snoret. Derek ordered them to put pressure on Agnito. Snoret asks his colleague to get down on both knees, but received the answer. He can only do this before the Emperor and Ive. Stefania approached Michael and asked, why is he here? Rumors reached the lady that it was difficult to train her personal knight. She also worries about her soft-hearted sister. Therefore, Stefania thinks to help her, rendered a small favor. Michael asks only to tell him if he is not good enough to serve the seventh princess. He will definitely fix it. The princess reminded, it has been a month since Agnito became a personal knight of Iv, but they never spent the night together. She asked, doesn't it seem to the guy that he is doing something wrong? Serving the princess is one of the most important duties of a personal knight. Apparently, Michael is not able to satisfy his mistress, so she does not call him at night. The knight knew. The princess does not use the ego in such a way. If so, is he confident in his qualifications as a personal guard? Asked Derek. Can a homunculus with flaws stay in the palace? According to the law, if the homunculus cannot fulfill its role, then the ego should be overestimated and lowered. Sister agrees with brother. Can they create a good reason for the dismissal of Agnito? Suggests Derek. According to Stefania, this is a good idea, but Ive's sister should not be bothered about the little things. They will figure it out themselves. You just need to make the knight defective, the thieves decided. Michael understood the danger, directly contradicting the members of the imperial family. And then they already gave the order to the personal guards. Then they took out their swords. The warrior decided to draw his weapon from its scabbard while the mistress was not around. He can be accused of an attempt on representatives of the August family, so they will get a basis for justifying their own actions. The prince and princess and both homunculi looked at the boy. He just needs to survive. At the tea party, Iv was showered with questions. The first princess Roxandra is interested in why a month later she still hasn't tried a personal knight. If she had done everything correctly, the rumors would not have reached them, says the second princess, Carola. I knew that they would touch on this topic, but not directly. It is normal for the imperial family to use homunculi for carnal pleasures. I've wanted everyone to take care of the mind. She will definitely get rid of this system. Does the sister's homunculus have problems in that part? Asks the fourth princess, Hesia. Answer, no. Are you sure? Did you thoroughly check the ward? The fifth princess, Aesel, is interesting. Yes. Only the embarrassed girl was able to answer. If he tells the truth, the sisters will continue to talk about it. If she liked him, she would call him every night. Hesia was not far behind. With a wicked smile, Bridget offered to train the knight Ive. The latter was very wary. The third princess noticed this. But I asked the relative to relax. She just joked. Finally, Ive answered. She thanks the girls, but she will deal with her knight herself. And while Sir Agnito is behaving as he pleases, she does not see the need for any additional training, especially other people. Please treat this with understanding. Bridget doesn't think it's a good topic to talk about. Roxandra supported her, offered to discuss something else. Betty took the initiative to talk about ways to increase the production of magic crystals. Iv worried. Does she want to talk about philosopher's stones again? Is it meaningful? And there is no father here. Why discuss it again? Suddenly, Iv heard the sound of Hugh's horn. Did they really target Michael? I thought they were crazy. How dare they attack the future king of homunculi? Even if everything ends well now, in the future he will be able to destroy not only the imperial family, but also the entire country. I've understood. She had to save the night. But the sisters took time. This is clearly Betty's handiwork. Then you need to put her to sleep. Well, other girls don't care about her. So it is necessary to remove the instigator and accomplices of the thief. And Betty reasoned about how 100 grams of homunculi would be enough, which prompted questions from the sisters. The third princess took her head and asked, where did she stop? Is everything good? Doesn't it hurt? The ladies are worried. Betty looked at Iv, who was sitting across from her. The seventh princess was drinking tea and a golden glow appeared near the cup. Guessing what was the matter, the thief reached for Iv but collapsed on the table and fell asleep. Everyone on Betty's side also suddenly fell asleep. The others looked at this picture in amazement. Anyway, apparently the topic was so boring that the girls fell asleep. Iv got up from the table. The event will have to end earlier. The sisters thought about it, but Iv informed them about the availability of business, so she was forced to leave them first. The girls also gathered for the exit. But Iv went to the balcony. He was reminded, the door is on the other side. The seventh princess had already stepped over the railing, which shocked her sisters. But she was in a hurry. What kind of door is there? If only Michael had waited. Michael was standing in front of two knights, and if he gets seriously injured, he will immediately be counted among the low-ranking ones. If only he could draw his sword. But for some reason, he wants to see his princess right now, like a madman. The knight of the sixth princess didn't want that either, but the best thing he could do for Michael now was to cut off his left arm. The guy understands. He has only two options: agree and have his hand cut off, and live the rest of his life in torment, working in a mine to extract philosopher's stones. And the second option is to draw a sword and resist. Well, then I would be expelled in an attempt on the imperial family, and then painfully executed. Both options are bad, but the second one will at least allow you to compensate for your anger. If he fails to offend the crown-bearing family, he would at least get rid of their knights. But if Michael does this, the responsibility for his actions will fall on the princess. This will allow opponents to continue mocking her. Michael extended his left hand forward and allowed the enemy to do what he had to do. Michael should be worthy of his princess. But the knight, on the other hand, did not move. In the next second, he suggested to finish it faster. Thoth had already brought his sword. Michael mentally thanked Eve for showing him the outer world, albeit for a short time. The thieves looked up. They saw a barrier in the sky. Eve was going down. She rushed to her knight, stood between him and his enemies. Ritbo and Snord greeted the seventh princess. She understood. A little more and she wouldn't have made it. And I understood what was happening here. The sister and brother called Sir Agnito to a quiet and private place to get the ego. And what claims did they have against him? Stefania tries to assure that there was a misunderstanding. The brother and sister just wanted to help with the training of the knight. Support is good, says Ive, but their methods are dubious. If you look at Sir Agnito, you can understand that they wanted to bring him to his knees on the sharp gravel, and they wanted to press with the help of mana. So they put two knights each against him, although Michael did not even draw his sword from its scabbard. And she asked to explain everything, but the sister hesitated. The seventh princess asks her to keep quiet because everything here is clear and unexplained. If Agnito had drawn his sword, his brother and sister would have accused him of attacking the imperial family. Iv raised the sword and gave the ego to Michael. Weapons must always be with him. Lives in the imperial palace, I've realized. There are intrigues here and you can't turn a blind eye to it. The seventh princess asks her knight to remember this. He orders him to defeat the personal guards of the prince and princess, who will raise a sword against him. Michael drew his sword from its scabbard. Eve smiles and wants to teach a lesson to his brother and sister. 4 opponents were kneeling before the princess and her personal knight. Who ordered it to be done? Asks Eve. The seventh princess kept track of the golem, which she captured just in case. Answer: Bridget. That's how I knew it. Let them tell what exactly she ordered. She ordered Stefan to leave Michael the right to be the princess's knight and expel him. They will start by discussing problems with the fulfillment of duties, arrange a fight, and cause serious injuries. If Michael resists, he will be accused of attacking the imperial family, if it is possible to provoke him to such actions, Eve thought. This is the order of the third princess, say the brother and sister. They just did the dirty work. If Eve is angry, she can punish the knights. Let anger rage against them, but don't report it to the Hudolin Times. The personal knights of the brother and sister are ready to take the punishment. If this eases the anger of the seventh princess, they are ready for punishment. Ivy does not want to do this, but the knights ask to punish them. The guards are still immature. I've looked at Stephanie and Derek. She blamed them for their inability to protect their knights. They are also used as a shield. The seventh princess does not want to punish them for their crime. There will be no punishment for simply following orders. Knights should not stop themselves as victims of fights between members of the imperial family. Ivy recorded her testimony on a golem, but she will not tell anyone about today's incident. And she had thoughts of bringing it to public court. Stefania and Derek are very pleased. But there is a condition. They must apologize to Sir Agnito. The brother and sister do not want to apologize to the slave. They are in a misunderstanding. I was so quiet. Has a crazy spirit merged into her? Stief Ania Gaudiai apologized to Ive, but not in front of the homunculus. Fourth insisted on apologizing to the knight Agnito. Stay F. Aniya and Der Ice K remained silent, but then began to ask forgiveness from the personal knight of the seventh princess for the humiliation. Michael accepted the apology. For Eve, it was insincere. She hopes that the brother and sister realize their mistake. But if you do not continue in the same spirit and oppose your sister, they will have the opposite effect. The fourth turned to the personal guard of the sixth prince. Is her name Vint? She confirmed her name. The girl looked away. She admires the amazing barrier. It is a pity that such a talent is misused. Today's disgrace is not the fault of the personal guard of the sixth prince. Therefore, let him not blame himself. Iv wants to leave here and asks the night girl to remove the barrier. But she obeyed. Ivy and Michael were already leaving, and the August persons were looking at them maliciously. What a sad fate they have. D. Eric K. suddenly shouted. Bird droppings fell on his eyes. They walked through the forest. When Ivy appeared, why was the knight's hand placed under the sword? With his strength, he could stand against the enemies, even alone, and defeat them all. And everything looked as if he did not want to defend himself. Michael answered, This is the best thing he could do. I wonder why it is the best. She knows that if he were accused of attacking the imperial family, part of the responsibility would fall on the princess herself. Reminded about its purpose, Lady has already done a lot on the way to her. Michael didn't want her to apologize to them later. And even more, he did not want them to prevent the implementation of her plan. As her personal knight, he believes that he made the right decision. If she wants to hear praise, she will praise him, thought the girl. But he does not think that he would be allowed to speak in order to clarify the circumstances. Av reminded the knight that she had already spoken about it. She will do everything for ego protection. But she meant something else. In dangerous situations, he must protect himself, and she will take care of the consequences. Michael is surprised. Does the princess have enough strength to do this? She was a little upset. Yes, he underestimates her, even though Iv is a princess. Recipe asks to forgive his ego because he offended the girl with his act. Once he understood, we drove, says the princess. Suddenly, Michael fell to his knees. Ive asks Ego to rise. The knight called her a princess. Lady agrees that she is a princess, but asks him to get up. She understood that if he did not obey the orders, it would hurt him already because of the imprinting. It stays well. What does he want to hear? Michael really believes her. He admits that he did something wrong today. The girl has a noble goal, but he was worried. He thought that her strength was not enough, and he acted in his own way. He was arrogant and stupid. Ivoy is surprised because he was worried about someone from the imperial family. Michael did not want to disturb the lady, but his actions were offensive. The warrior asks for forgiveness for this. Eve forgives him and asks him to get off his knees. The knight thanks for the rescue. In his opinion, he lived only thanks to his mistress, and now she promised to protect him. Now the promise is being fulfilled. The knight answered, If it will not be easy, he promises to believe the lady unconditionally. I'm surprised. Was Michael always so honest? Today he realized that becoming her knight was a real blessing. Until Iv becomes the empress, the boy puts his life and soul on the line. All this for the sake of the aspirations of the lady. I will accept and remember this with warmth. Michael is the commander of the rebellion from the previous life, and in this one he chose the side of the mistress. So she is doing everything right. She remembered the words that the knight had said in the past. She must choose the ego. While Ive was thinking, Michael asked for her hand in marriage. Then he kissed her. He turned to the girl and called her his princess, asks to take care of him. And the lady wants him to take care of her. Ive was present with the servants in her room. They said that the reason was the failure to perform night duties. Relayed faithful said Ella. The maid apologizes for not preventing these rumors immediately. It's her fault. 4 asked her not to apologize. It is impossible to fight rumors that are spread specially. Essie considers it necessary to stop this. It is her fault that she did not take it seriously. The maid in the future will do everything to prevent such nonsense in relation to Her Highness. The rest of the servants are in solidarity with her. The lady thanks her employees. S.A. de Ella announced dinner time. I suggested to the hostess that they rest a little in the room and she will bring dinner. Today was a hard day, and she offered to have dinner with Sir Agnito. They looked at each other in confusion. If he doesn't mind, said the princess timidly. Will they be together? These are also the duties of a personal knight, thought Michael. The servants had already taken the night to wash. As expected, they know what to do, he thought. This is the best way to restore your name in the imperial palace. Michael was not angry, but wanted to know what the princess was up to. Ella called him to the room where Iv was already. The knight ate a dish that he thought was delicious. Can they just have dinner like that? Asked the seventh princess. Michael, if she wants to. The lady smiles and offers to eat. The two of them did a lot to calm down the sixth prince and princess. The knight suggested. Avi does not intend to publicize the recording from the golem. She has little strength to engage in an open fight with Bridget. Is the mistress planning to keep the golem with her? Asked the knight. I've pointed to the cage, pushed the ego there so that it wouldn't fly away. Is it legal to keep the property of the imperial family like this? There is Albert in the office, and here only naked. The knight is not sure that the golem should be kept in a cage. Eve agrees. She may have problems if someone enters the room and sees him. Even a little sorry for the golem. But it is better to think about how to use the ego. Ive will come up with something. The maids came, but she sent them to rest. The maids leave and wish sweet dreams. The knight is surprised. Is she really going to sleep? The maids came out Devushka et Murata. They can now speak freely. Michael admired the house opposite. The princess is not like others. Although earlier he was wrong in his judgments. He probably guessed, but the girl wants to ask him something. Will he stay in her room tonight? If something similar happened, then it is necessary, thought the knight. Michael gulped down a cup of tea and got up from the table. He began to stretch his shirt and said, If I understood everything correctly, then now I will start my duties. It would be good if she expressed her preferences in advance. How a knight should properly court a lady. Iv in a panic. Michael misunderstood. The princess thought he would guess. She asked him to sleep in her room and no more. They only need hearsay. It will be enough if everyone sees how the knight leaves the princess's room in the morning. Michael buttoned his shirt. He felt ashamed. Everything is so simple, but he took it too seriously. The guy didn't understand what was wrong with him. Is it because of imprinting? The princess abruptly approached him and touched his hair, and a golden glow appeared near her fingers. It was soothing magic. I asked, Is it better already? The guy thanked. According to Iv, in order to spread rumors, you need to visit the bedroom regularly. She offered to come to her once a week. For example, on Wednesday. Michael has to pretend to be tired in the morning tomorrow. They need to further fool the maid Sedella. Four asks the knight to try. They shook hands in silence. Ave sat in the room and read the newspaper. The press wrote about the opening of a public bath, which was built by Lucier. The company has attracted a lot of attention, and their profit turned out to be more than expected. Everything went more successfully than in the last life. Bridget had obviously heard all these news. Iv supposes that her sister now exudes friendship. A girl can praise herself for a good job. Until you praise yourself, no one will praise you. Sedella came up. The seventh princess praised the maid because everything went well thanks to her. The maid is modest. It's just her job. Iv appreciated it and asks the housekeeper to continue in the same spirit. I decided to give her a day off as soon as he appeared. The maid announced that the item ordered by Iv had arrived. Servants brought a long trunk covered with dark red brocade into the room. Lady happily asked to call Michael. Her personal guard entered. Ivy asks him to come, but she didn't tell him before. Then she opened the chest. Inside lay a beautiful and elegant sword intended for the knight as a gift from the lady. The knight took the sword in his hands. It seems incredible to him. Do you like it? Asked Iv. Of course, but soon it will have to be stained with blood, answered the guy. The competition for hunting animals on the island of wild mountains and forests of the Galapagos is approaching. The barrier protects the monsters living there from people. To choose the winner, the number of killed monsters is counted. Animals are indispensable elements in alchemy, so for specialists, such competitions are like a harvest festival. The empire that valued alchemy simply had to pay special attention to this event. "Isn't that the purpose of weapons?" asked the princess. The knight agrees with her. She asks to follow her. "I wanted to do something." She led the knight to the green room. It is necessary to observe etiquette, so the knight knelt down and lowered his head. The princess called the knight's full name, asked him to become her sword and defeat all enemies. Ivy asks him to be her shield, protecting her from danger and requires her to swear loyalty. Michael understood. This is an oath of loyalty. He swears. Even if the world turns away from the princess, he will stay close. If orders cost him his life, he will happily give her as a mistress. He now bowed his knee. "The warrior brought the knight's oath to the lady," said Iv. "From now on, he is her guardian." Michael agreed with this. The knight will serve his mistress body and soul until death. Iv gives him a position worthy of honor and courage. Iv called her full name and placed her sword on the warrior's shoulders. She accepts this cell. Michael rose to his feet, and the girl explained to him that she just wanted to hold this ceremony. This action is as important for knights as the first snowdrop after a long winter. When it comes to homunculi, this formality is usually omitted. Usually minor events are held, or the head of the training camp will say a parting word. Michael looked at the princess and said that he wanted to thank her for the sword. If so, then she asked to take his prize place at the competition. Not the first, but the prize, thought the knight. The princess has absolutely no competitive spirit. A warrior must show his mistress how nice it is to win. He swears to serve her with honor. When they arrived on Galapagos Island, Iv asked the knight about his impressions of the place. Michael clarified. "There are harpies in the sky, not crows?" "Yes, all the inhabitants of the island are monsters," said the lady. The knights gathered at the training ground, and the gentlemen sat in the tents. They saw the guys in the squad for hunting monsters. A gloomy sight. The entrance looks like the mouth of a gigantic beast. This is the family of Galamut, a demonic dragon. He is known for his power and cruelty. I've tied a blue ribbon on the sword of her personal knight. She asks him to be careful. Michael kissed the lady's hand and asked her not to worry about him. The sisters looked at the seventh princess with irritation. The knight was almost ready. Iv looked at him and mentally asked him to return safe and sound. A dragon often hid in the dark. For him, homunculi were ugly creatures that he was ready to destroy. Hundreds of years ago, when God turned his back on the world, a demon dragon was born that shook the world. The Galamut family pitted homunculi against him. The dragon Galamut, known for his cruelty, was defeated, but he became a legacy of magical minds and contributed to the development of the empire. And the dragon's habitat was captured by a strong man at that time. The remaining magical animals began to be used as materials for alchemy, and it's all thanks to competitions on the hunt. Michael and Sylvestian ran through the forest. The first asks the second to take his time. It will not be easy to defeat him. It seems to the knight of the eighth princess that these are not the words that he should hear from the strongest competitor. I've hoped her knight wouldn't have any big problems. Rose approached her. The eighth princess thinks that the glory will be hers today. Sylvestian swore to the mistress to crush the greatest beast of the White Rose Empire Council. All August people want their homunculi to be the best, and if not, then simply get rid of them. The imperial family does not directly participate in the hunting tournament, and only lowly orders the homunculi to participate. Instead of the comfort of the knight, they think how to use the ego as a tool for victory. Iv was sorry, because it is possible to worry about them at least a little, but she said to her sister, "Okay, so it will be." She left, not understanding why she was so angry, and at the table sat the younger countess and several girls with her. They were discussing pearl ink. One of the girls even wanted to receive them as a gift. They know that the affairs of the younger countess have gone up. Everywhere they say that the count's business, connected with public baths, is very successful. Guests are interested in the prices of magic stones that can be used to heat water. They're growing fast, aren't they? If this continues, the more clients there are, the more they will go into the red, right? Yes, but the junior countess's company found a way to eliminate the need for them. The water is heated in a special oven in the oven of a neighboring bakery, and then fed through pipes. Guests are wondering how they came up with such an idea. This is the wisdom given to the countess and her father by their family benefactor and partner. Earlier, their company received a project to improve the hygiene of the inhabitants of the empire. Due to the dependence on magic stones, the risk of failure was high. If not for the benefactor's help, the company would not have avoided bankruptcy. The guests were wondering, who is this savior? Suddenly, the girls turned and saw the seventh princess. Is she also participating? They ask. She is their benefactor, says the younger countess. It was Her Highness who helped the company. Fourth greeted the countess. Guests are surprised. The seventh princess was a secret partner? Yes, the recipe for the soap used in the baths was also invented by the princess. Is this the same soap that can't be found anywhere else? The third princess maliciously watched what was happening. Ivy is also interested in improving the personal hygiene of citizens. Therefore, she supported the countess. Banodello will help prevent epidemics. I've recently captured a personal knight, received a room of fresh green from the emperor, and now still a bath business? It is said that the seventh princess even participates in the pioneering project of His Majesty. I've got up from the table and said goodbye to the girls. He promises to see them later. He asked the countess to come with him for a few words. They withdrew into the forest, and the princess recalled their exchange of greetings through Sedella. The younger countess did a good job. The princess praises her. All thanks to her, answered the interlocutor. Did the countess see how the third princess looked at them? Even the hair stood on end. This is due to the fact that the company's business did not go downhill. The countess is confident. Betty was clearly very angry. Iv is worried that all the anger will spill out on her interlocutor. The seventh princess will be ready for this. The count could not help asking one important question. Crowned acquaintance plans to become an empress? Iv looked scared at the girl. The third princess tried to destroy the family business of the younger countess and replace them with her protégé, Chensley. But the third princess is the first contender for the throne, so no one even tried to help the company, except for the seventh princess. Now everyone knows that she supported them. This will be regarded as an intention to oppose Betty. So I've said that she is claiming the throne. If this is not part of her plans, then why? Asks the countess. The latter suddenly got on her knees. The princess asks to get up because her knees hurt. The businesswoman took the hand of her benefactor. She, Anais Lucierd, vows to follow only the seventh princess until death. Iv is touched and thanks the girl. The emperor's daughter will show how wisely her friend made such a choice. The two of them returned and approached the other aristocrats. They tried to guess the winner of the competition. Surely someone from the personal knights. Last year, Ireso won Halston, but now there are two more strong candidates. This is the knight of the 8th Princess Sylvestian and the warrior of the 7th Princess Agneto. The girls are happy because, in their opinion, this is healthy competition. They are eagerly awaiting the results. In the past life, Sylvestian won, Iv remembered, when he became the Rose Knight, who won all the tournaments in the Imperial Palace and dedicated his victories to the White Rose. Then Michael appeared and became the leader in everything. And will Michael win this time? I started to worry. Earlier, she had to congratulate the winner. And now she herself can be in his place. And was her previous life always so dark and gloomy? The princess was not worried about rivalry, but she always belittled herself for some reason. But there are already people who will follow the princess. Michael is also on her side. The girl realized that she needed to become more confident. The countess is interested in her opinion. Who will win today? And smiles. She is confident in the victory of her knight. The interlocutors giggle about this. The princess had a strange feeling that someone was looking at her. This was the 8th princess. And the rumor about its ubiquity turned out to be true. Iv offered the younger countess to return to the celestial ship. When they were climbing the stairs, a young man called the princess. She turned around. It was Calix Limit Yellow. He wants to keep them company. At the last imperial banquet, it was he who gave the girl a glass of strong alcohol. Calix really wanted to meet the princess. He regrets that last time they parted like that, Iv admitted. She was lucky that they broke up before she got drunk then. The aristocrat wants to apologize for that day. He had no idea to specially solder the LEDs, but there is one law in the Imperial Palace. The first glass received from the second person must be drained. A refusal is considered rude. Calix then specially made all this. He wanted to prove that he is a gentleman and saves the princess. If Ive had given him a glass, she would have been in his debt. What does he want? Asked the girl. She knows. Everything was arranged for the sake of some benefit. The younger countess asks not to trust the words of this person. What was he thinking, acting like that? Aeneas asks. And when the plan failed, decided to save the tarnished honor? She overdid it a bit, Iv thought. It seems that the guy has a request. But if he doesn't want to speak now, he will speak later. Calix thanks Iv and hopes for another meeting. He wished Her Highness a good time. The younger countess looked at the sky. It seems like it's starting to rain. The seventh princess is upset because she just came to the ship, and it is already necessary to return and look around. Michael killed monsters in the forest and left marks on them so that they could be counted in his favor. Killed monsters lay near him. For the boy, these were not monsters, but a trifle. To win, a stronger horror game is needed. The warrior turned to a strange sound behind him. There was slime. Michael is upset because every little thing gets to him, but the warrior needed the corpses of slimes and stoneworms. Albert did not understand why they were, because as an alchemical material, these creatures are useless. I wanted to make a solvent from the essence of slimes. With the help of this substance, it is possible to dissolve the upper shell of stoneworms and take their internal organs. And don't they make something that is used at night? Asks Albert. So why is this princess but a necessary thing? The princess and the knight were upset. Not for that, she answered. These endurance potions improve blood flow. In the case of conducting experiments, it is possible to get a cure for heart disease. The princess is sure that this drug can save many patients. This will be a big step for the Empire, which is weak in medicine. The official praises Her Majesty. She thought everything through carefully. At the end of the competition, she will receive any monster corpses she wants. Michael looked at the slime and took out his sword. He wanted to help his princess. And after that, he cut the monster. The warrior looked at the monsters and understood that he needed to mark them all. Suddenly, a bright light illuminated his eyes. The pollen of the Nepenthe flower is poisonous. You must not inhale it. Otherwise, there will be problems. Vint, the approaching knight, warned her colleague. When the pollen spreads, the whole forest will be filled with this filth. It's not so bad. In any case, it's a hunting camp, says the knight. That's why he threw monsters in a pile? Vint asked. Anyone would see in this a personal hatred of slimes and stoneworms. I wonder in which direction he is going to go. Michael will go through the swamp. And if she is going to go in that direction, let her choose another direction. He has already cleared everything there. The knight wonders where to find Galamut. Vint knows, but she considers him to be strong enough, so there will be no problems if he does tell. A yellow line formed by magic will show the warrior the way. Sylvestian was caught in the forest by a monster that resembled a gargoyle. Seeing the knight, the monster rushed at him, but the swing of the weapon scared the creature. The warrior struck, but hit the blade of the knight of the seventh princess. Sylvestian recognized a colleague. They lowered their swords. Michael asks, is he also looking for a cave? No, a colleague is looking for a golden-maned behemoth. This year, everyone aimed at him. Silver-haired one does not understand, but what is this yellow line? This was done by the knight Vint. It should lead to a cave, Michael explained. Soon the beam led them to the cave. The guys saw many fireflies and finally, the dragon himself. Quite big. Michael wants to take the head of the creature. He is not greedy. He rushed forward and Sylvestian stayed behind, ready to help a colleague if he is not confident in his abilities. Millard also decided to go forward. The monster's fur is very valuable, so let the knight be more careful there, he asks his comrade. Soon the beast was killed. The knight of the eighth princess thinks that they quickly dealt with him. It was necessary to place a few individuals for the next hour, Sylvestian believes. Michael was looking for a leader. All the relatives of the stricken monster died or mournfully moaned, and this one did not even show its nose. Hadn't he killed his ego before? Millard recalled, a huge one with glowing eyes. The guy was surprised. Was this the leader? They are all weak. He did not even notice. Suddenly, the princess's third knight approached them. Did they kill everyone? He asks. Collusion between two potential winners? Isn't this a violation of the rules? He asks. Millard says, If he goes around the stone cliff, he will find a nest of spiders. How does Halston relate to the hunt for the queen of these insects? As expected from the Knight Millard, the enemy is moved, but he is so merciful and worthy of being close to the White Rose. Halston thanks for the advice, but asks not to let his colleague down. If you don't get enough points, you will have a hard time at night. Does he understand what he is talking about? The Imperial White Rose is no different from the others, says Sylvestian. He believes that his colleague should show respect for the Imperial family. Halston just likes it. It hurts him when they say that. Floating prison monster needs to say that more often. The latter bowed, but his opponent only grinned maliciously. Halstein was only looked askance at. He understood everything and is already leaving. A colleague asks to calm down. They promise to go their own way. The guys were left alone. And their opponent does not look like someone who serves the royal family. His tongue is sharp. It's strange that no one touches him. Sylvestian heard how they once wanted to get rid of him, but not because of loyalty. It is known that homunculi are subjected to rigorous training during courses. This is necessary to create competition. Sword fights are the simplest thing, and to get rid of the weak, they could well arrange survival games. Michael remembered how he first rebelled back then, and Sylvestian heard that Halston was almost thrown out due to poor performance. The personal knight of the third princess was lagging even hard to imagine. There were also rumors that someone voluntarily refused to pass the test in favor of little Halston. That's why he survived. Michael remembered. It's him, that kid. The guys paid attention to the rain and were surprised, and suddenly the ground split apart under them. Sylvestian barely held his friend, but that one is fine. The knight of the seventh princess asks his colleague to be called by his first name in dangerous situations. Millard admitted. He doesn't have a short name. Agnito is ready to call his ego simply that. Sylvie. Homunculus is an ugly creature. They suddenly heard someone's voice. Blue smoke rose from the ground. Is this some kind of evil spirit? The soldiers are surprised. Give it up, decided to show up in the rain. It was the spirit of the dragon Galamut. Even on his best days, Michael's strength was not even 10,000 times that of this monster. The knight stood amazed by the terrible monster. The unimaginable began. In front of Sylvestian an instant, and the brave warrior was enveloped in darkness. The knight was in this space and did not understand. Was he inside an evil spirit? How was the ego swallowed? And here ahead, he saw the seventh princess and her knight walking towards the world. Sylvie looked at the couple in surprise. A banquet was held in the palace in honor of Rose's 18th birthday. Although Sylvestian was considered an honorary knight because of his owner, there was one but. Walking next to White Rose, he could not concentrate on the hostess. His gaze wandered around the hall in search of another, the knight inside him who went against the system. And he awakened a sense of shame in this homunculus. Sylvie grabbed his head, but suddenly a light appeared, from which Michael appeared. They were again in a forest clearing where it was raining. The knight of the eighth princess felt as if someone had entered his soul. A seemingly defeated dragon lay nearby. Galamut is able to penetrate the mind. One must be careful, asks Agnito. The monster quickly recovered and looked at the guys with a terrible look. Michael threw his sword at the creature. A few blows with the sword and the monster is on the ground again. He began to evaporate, taking the form of a blue spirit. The dragon tried to damage Michael, but it didn't work. He is surprised. Why is he okay? The warrior cut his head with his sword, but after a second, the dragon was whole again. He called the knight the ugliest creature and the king of homunculi. Michael frowns. Dying silently is not about the dragon, the guy thinks. Thanks to the previous attack, he found the core of the enemy, and the next attack will send the monster's ego to the other world. The dragon laughed, which surprised the knight. The king of the homunculi came out of himself, shouts the monster, but he understood an important thing. The warrior is sealed and he already has a master. Michael angrily runs towards the enemy. A new sword strike and the dragon is scattered again. The monster threatens to kill his enemy. It is necessary to get rid of the owner of the clan council. Sylvie approached a colleague and asked if he was okay. The silver-haired man does not understand where his friend has gone. Then he suddenly ran to the side. He remembered his princess. The dragon reached the main stake of the Knights of the Aristocrats. Everyone started running in panic, but Bridget stopped the fugitives. In a stern voice, the third princess ordered all the knights to line up, and they obeyed her. The dragon continued to frighten people. The ladies, meanwhile, stood under the protection of a magical barrier. Iv was worried about Michael. He still hasn't returned. She and Rose had no personal knights. The dragon saw 4 and spoke. The hunter and the beast run. The girl appeared. This voice sounds in her head, but her body did not listen. The man who sealed the king of the homunculi shouted the dragon. He will take revenge, took her life. The third princess and another knight put up a protective barrier. Eve walked forward as if bewitched. The guard girl asked her to come back faster. Eve was enchanted and went straight to the dragon. Everyone looked at her in amazement, but suddenly Michael found himself in front of the princess and the monster. He returned. Delighted, she ran forward and hugged her pet. The dragon did not disappear. He was still standing in front of people. How dare he touch the princess? The warrior gets angry. The core of the monster will be split into so many pieces that it will never be put back together again. With these words, Michael plunged the sword into the dragon's body. The monster screamed in pain all over the island. He looked at Iv and with the last of his strength urged her to get rid of the king of the homunculi. The girl is surprised. The dragon recognized Michael, although he had not yet woken up. The knight himself was nowhere to be seen. Suddenly her guardian came out of the smoke. Was she looking for an ego? He asks. The young people hugged again. They looked at each other. The princess smiles. She is glad that Michael was not hurt. Toth suddenly began to undress. And she was surprised, but the knight took off his jacket and threw it over the girl's shoulders. Yes, he decided to help so that the unfortunate woman did not get wet. Meanwhile, the rain had already passed and was not dripping. Iv noticed that her companion's hands were shaking. I decided to use warming magic. Michael took his mistress's hand and put it to his left cheek. He is glad that everything is fine with her. The princess herself thanked the knight. Thanks to him, she is still alive. Everything is fine now. He will warm up soon, the lady assured. When the mental embodiment of the dragon disappeared, the rain stopped altogether, as if it had not been there at all. The restoration of the inner part of the outpost progressed at an accelerated pace. The competition ended with the awarding of the winner. He became the personal knight of the 7th Princess Michael. Ive was already on the sofa. On the day of the celebration, it would be nice to rest a little in the hostel. She tells the knight. Michael with the princess's tooth. He wrapped her in a blanket and assures that everything is fine with him, and let her rest. Sealing is a truly cruel contract. If the owner is in danger, then the threat felt by the sealed is very strong. It can even paralyze the heart. When the master dies, such feelings are like a strong psychological shock. Very rare cases, due to the death of the host, the homunculi went mad and lost their human form. Michael got up from the bed and thought, does he become the same? He remembered the words of the dragon about the king of homunculi. Did the dragon want to say that Michael is the strongest of the homunculi? King is a very honorable title. If not force, then what did he mean? It would be good to ask someone about it. Michael sat down next to the princess. Galamut definitely used his mind-penetrating abilities, so he was able to find the mistress of the night, but it is not known what about the other dragons. But if he called the guy the king of homunculi, then there is a high probability that the demon considered him his most sworn enemy. In this case, the existence of the night will endanger the princess. Then the simplest way to save her from danger is to terminate their contract. Michael took the tips of his mistress's hair. He likes their smell. In the guy's life, there was a woman whom he does not want to give up. Then he simply has to protect her. Luciard's bath business is flourishing successfully. Thanks to the princess, she herself and the maids have funds. And also free time for public political life, says Sedella. Let him tell how it will be a rich princess, says the maid. It's good when you can provide for your family on your own. The princess rejoices. The maids had ear-to-ear smiles. They thanked for the extra day off. After all this time they took such care of the lady. Iv handed Sedella a piece of paper with an address on it. He asks to go there. Honoknaya understood. Her hostess wanted to invest in this place. The maid heard that they were looking for a new owner there. That is why it is necessary to come here. Ivy prepared for Sedella a luxurious townhouse in the southern part of the Ravello River. She hired maids there for 6 months. Therefore, I am sure that now the faithful maid will be able to go there and have a great rest. She will like it. Let Sedella go there. Meet her and tell her what exactly needs to be done. The maid understood everything. Will you call Michael when he leaves? Yes, the lady prepared a gift for him. Hope you like it. Soon Ive received her faithful knight. He came with a sword. The princess thought that he was the strongest, so there was no need to give the guy a battle magic stone. That's why I chose the one that he will definitely like. Michael is interested, but which one exactly? The magic stone of the barrier and protection against temperature changes. The guy took the sword in his hands and saw that it was sheathed. Isn't this the best protective stone, Aigis? Knowing the guard's weakness in protective barriers, the princess chose him especially for him. Michael assessed the stone. Truth? She is glad. Even without taking this object into account, the princess thought that the knight would be disappointed, since this is ordinary magic. The warrior would never dare to think that way about the generosity of the lady. Ive actually chose the one that can be mounted on a scabbard rather than a sword. The princess thought about a possible situation when the knight would not be able to draw his sword like then. She addresses him as a knight. Michael thinks he should behave more carefully. Is it wrong to speak formally, even when they are alone? But Ive was fine with everything. The lady's tastes are quite specific. The knight thinks. If we are talking about the imperial palace, then these are still flowers, says the princess. The lady did not want to get caught because of the politeness between them. The less formal, the better. But if they haven't already talked about it, then in private, Michael can call her by her short name, and not by title. The warrior cannot, although he has already addressed her in this way. The guy reminded that they were undercover then. I've heard that the brothers' sisters are alone with the personal knights, and they also ask them to call themselves short. Michael thoughtfully reminded. Usually this is done at night in bed. The knight knows it was said with ulterior motives. But if in the palace the princess decides to say something similar not to him, but to another homunculus, he will take it wrong. They will be careful. And there is a strict hierarchy between the imperial family and the homunculi. Is it allowed to call someone from the august family by their first name? The princess remembered when the former Michael pounced on her. What was it then? I've decided to ask the knight. She understands the intention of the emperor's family to use short names. And what does it mean when a personal knight of another person is called that, who did not give his consent? Michael drew his sword. Who allowed such a thing in relation to the princess? Is it Irizo? Halster? Who? Michael only in the past life, thought the princess. She asks to imagine that such a situation has arisen. I wonder what this means. There are two options. Either this person despises the girl, or he wants to become her personal knight and spend the night with her. Such a request comes from the homunculus. It seems that this was a very impudent guy, believes Michael. Ive was horrified that Michael wanted to do it with her. How is that possible? She broke off relations with this homunculus and then made Michael a personal knight? He is interested. Is this true? He asked. He died, answered the girl. Thank God, but it's a bit of a pity, says the knight. It sounds like Michael wishes he hadn't killed that homunculus himself. Have you declared a day off for today? Because something was planned? The knight is interested. Michael is guessing. It's good that they changed the topic of conversation. Ive wants to visit one important person for her. This is her alchemy teacher. Soon they crossed the threshold of the house where he lived. I haven't been here for quite a while, aren't you tired? Asked the knight. No, I came here often, so I got used to it. And immediately a yellow snake with small wings flew up. Her nickname is Uro. The creature is very happy to see the girl. Michael saw many golems in the room. They were made by the princess's mother. Yes, she was also a golem alchemist. I've noticed a lot of dust in the room. He asked the knight to wait a little. They need to clean up. Will she clean herself? The girl here was a student. This is all the same for her. The magical cleaning golem illuminated the dark room with a pleasant light. The books were in their places on the shelves. The long-awaited order was brought to the room. Michael was delighted. What did the princess just do? I've put the books in places. There is nothing complicated about it. No, she is mistaken. The guy is sure. Lady instantly calculated the trajectory of several objects and placed them on several shelves. Such a calculation is impossible without good spatial perception skills. They say the truth that look is the engine of progress. Yes, Ivy was even praised once for this laziness. The calculation of coordinates is important for magical attacks in long-range combat. Probably the princess has an innate talent, Michael believes. Probably he is right, but the lady herself is not very strong in combat magic. It is the knight's job to minimize the need for the mistress to use combat magic. Michael knew that Iv knew magic, but he did not think that she also practiced alchemy. The princess, like her mother, is engaged in something like golems. It's easier to show than to explain. Asks the knight to follow her. She brought him a flask inside, which was an organ resembling a heart. The warrior is interested. Did she use alchemy on a human? The princess knows that human alchemy is forbidden. Does he really want to stage a coup? Ivy denies. Nothing like that. She conducts some experiments trying to create the likeness of human organs from golems, the first cause of death in the country. Cardiovascular diseases. This is difficult to solve with the help of magic and herbs, so Four will first study the option of creating a replacement for the body's organs. This is what she did when she was not yet thinking about conquering the throne. Later, the research will be handed over to the imperial alchemical community. The price of the work is so high that even the princess cannot afford it. Well, since she is here, we need to deal with one more matter. Iv wants to make a guardian golem that can be used together. Asks the knight to choose for him a beautiful name and Dello in the hat. I've looked out the window. Dinner. It seems that the teacher will return late. They can spend the night here too. The princess gives up the guest room upstairs to the knight. And there is another room here for her. At night, I had a dream. In it, she sat surrounded by trees and admired the northern lights. She couldn't believe it. Was he really sleeping? The only person capable of such a thing is an alchemy teacher. And he sat next to her. Praised for improved abilities, those who have reached their peak in the area of mana receive the reward of eternal youth. This applies not only to alchemy and magic, but also to the art of swordsmanship. Such creatures do not appear every century. One of them is the sage from the spruce forest. As the former teacher of the 6th Empress, he was responsible for Princess Evanrose's alchemy lessons by direct order of the monarchs. It was with him that the princess communicated in the dream. Why did the mentor decide to meet Four in a dream? She wanted to see him in person. Max spent a lot of energy, so she left Crescent Lake to recover. Is he okay? The lady is worried. Hey, there's nothing to worry about, reassured the wizard. The magician asks, will the girl be worried if she decided to visit him personally? In fact, she returned to the past, says Iv. Hey, I think the sorcerer can help understand why this happened. For a magician, it is amazing that she tells such things so easily. He knew everything in advance, but still. Eve shocked. Did the magician already know? Why did she come back? If the magician tells, he will reveal a great secret, and this can offend her mentor or break the laws of the world. I will be a little sorry if he tells everything so simply. Is it still a mentor's hobby to make fun of a former student? Asked the girl. The reason for the ego explosion was the regression ceremony, with the help of the philosopher's stone of great alchemy and magic. That's what I thought. Her assumptions were correct, but she could not even think that a stone was involved. I wonder who was able to return it. If she moved to the past, the magician assumes that it was done by the one who loves her the most. The girl thought, and at first assumed that it was her teacher. Therefore, he needed to restore his strength. But she guessed only half. Was it more than one person? Surprised princess. Guessed. This is Sidella? The magician calls the maid ordinary, so this is an unreasonable version, but there is no one else. Sad Iv. What a clueless one. The mentor smiles. The return ritual requires a lot of mana and has its price. And the philosopher's stone meets these requirements. Well, who will be able to use the ego for its intended purpose? Only the emperor. Posledny vopros od maga. Who was the monarch before the return of Four? Lady remembered the scene from her past life when Michael fell on top of her. He thought she did not expect to see him. These are his words, that the princess should have chosen him as her personal knight. She confessed to being a magician. Michael was the emperor at that time, Agneto. Soon he was also standing near the magician. The magician asks him not to be so suspicious. He wanted the knight to see the brilliance that the wizard had worked on creating. He admitted that he has many roles, but today I'm here for the opportunity to answer guest questions. That is why he did not invite the student here with him. Michael caught a hint about the student. So in front of him is the sage of the fir forest? Yes, it is. Homunculus apologizes. He called himself and his rank, personal knight of the 7th princess. According to the mage, the king of the homunculi does not need to be polite to him. Michael said that Galamut also called him that. And why is this nickname? Since the boy was born with the ability to command homunculi, shouldn't he be named king? The knight clarified. Only the emperor is capable of this. This is not the same as forced submission through imprinting or restrictions. This is the power of the king, the magician emphasized. She was born in Michael, but she hasn't woken up yet. As soon as she wakes up, he will have power beyond the limits of the emperor. It is this young man who will free all the homunculi from the oppression of the imperial family. Then all the homunculi will obey only Michel. He himself does not believe in this. A warrior does not consider himself capable of being responsible for someone. The knight does not consider himself suitable for this role. The magician is confident. You need to believe in yourself. In his past life, Michel also did not want to get the throne, but in the end, he became emperor and freed his people. Does the magician want to say that Michel is now living a second life? Yes, that's right. Is that possible? Someone could not bear the loss of a loved one and held a ceremony of going back in time. For a knight, is it foolish to turn back time for the sake of saving the life of one person while changing the destinies of people and all the events of the past years? The warrior does not consider such a risk justified. It's not fair if someone has a chance to change everything. Michael again recalled the words of Galamut, that he is the king of homunculi. Does the warrior know how it happened? The wizard smiles. There is a limit to how much the magic of alchemy can affect a creature of its level. Since it is similar to the spirit, it is assumed that the memories of the past life remain regardless of the regression of the body itself. He had already met an awakened knight in the past, so he knew. So the magician was also watching the knight because of his actions and achieved in the past? That's right. The guy thinks the wizard knows who won back time. Perhaps, says the magician. Is he wondering what his interlocutor is planning to do with this person? Michael is ready to kill the ego. The wizard smiled imperceptibly. After waking up, Iv looked at the flowers in the forest. No matter how much she thinks, it doesn't make sense. Do you like Michael? That's why Michael. And he turned back time. Love for her? What was on his mind? The enemy homunculus ghost suddenly turned its head and called out to her. Driving went quickly. Hey, it seemed. But behind someone called, Her Highness. Is it really a vision again? Ive could not calm down. She turned around and saw Michael approaching her. How did he find out that she was here? Saw from above. I put a jacket on her. I'm afraid she won't catch a cold. Ivy didn't want to doubt the mentor's words, but was the reason why the knight called her by her name without permission in her past life? A passionate desire? How to watch it now after this? I've almost cried. She needs to calm down. Michael from the past and this one are two completely different people. Now they have started the same thing. The knight said that last night in a dream, the lady's mentor came to him and asked to hand over the package. Ive is amazed by this magical scroll. The teacher rarely teaches magic. I wonder what they were talking about. Here, the magician's question to the interlocutor popped up. Does he want to kill that person? He knows about all future events. If such a person becomes the enemy of the princess, and his very existence is a threat. So Michael said. But who dares to go against the knight? Although you need to think about this in advance and stop everything at the root. Michael is worried that this person might stand in the way of the princess and interfere with her plan. Is he ready for everything for her sake? Asked the magician. The warrior is ready. The magician calls him to awaken the power of the king, and then he will be able to return memories of his past life, and also finds out who turned back time. All this the sorcerer said with a smile. If the wise man's words are true, and he knew the one who turned back time, this person and the knight's strength can be useful to the princess. In other words, the princess will need a knight more than ever. The girl that he learned how he could become more useful to his princess. And he wants to awaken the power of the king as quickly as possible. A week later, Iv was in the forest practicing magic. The silver spider network was already much better than before. Such a clever skill. The net will not cause harm if it does not move. But if they move, then she, like 1,000 blades, will lick the victim's body. Absolute magic of defense and attack. If the princess used this trick on the knight, even the sealed would not have resisted. And yet it is considered barrier magic. Guard golems also bypass her. Does the lady think this magic is incredible? Michael asked. Ember flew up. A guardian golem in the form of a lady butterfly and her knight. He leaves behind black pollen when he is in a bad mood. According to Iv, Ember is in a good mood today. Golem shines so. And these golden scales falling off the wings. Just a charm. Only a week has passed, but the results of training are already amazing. According to the 7th princess, this is explained by her own practice in creating internal organs. A personal knight makes a proposal to train with people. The princess did not quite understand. Michael believes that they are not demons and will not want to hurt the girl. And the guy wants the lady to try her magic on the knight? Well, no. Has he really forgotten what happened last time at training? And if they do as the warrior suggested, I will become a knight of the 7th princess. Michael will not even be able to get his sword out of its sheath. The guy reminded me of the magical barrier stone that the hostess gave him. But shouldn't they keep everything a secret? The girl says that the magic received from the mentor can be dangerous for the guard. Michael agrees with this. It's something like embraced for. Let her be sure that if he dies, it will be the happiest death. He is not against it, but hopes for an immortal fight. Is there hope for the princess's mercy? The lady was amazed. The personal knight had never said anything like that in his past life. Why is this all the time? What kind of conversations are these? Ive was embarrassed. Does Michael understand that he is flirting with the girl now? She also asked not to use the tricks that the ego was taught. Answer: they were taught completely differently. So the princess should not overdo it? She suggested starting classes tomorrow. That's what they came for. On their way to the room in the courtyard, they met the 8th princess and her personal knight. The least I wanted to see was my sister now. This is the law of meanness. Iv realized that Rose is still resentful of her relative because of the defeat at the hunt, but it was the 8th princess who acted dishonestly in her past life, slipped IV poison. Her abnormal obsession with Michael cost her her life. This is the reason for all even Rose's hatred of Rosenite. I've now understood her sister, but was still disappointed by the girl and her behavior. He even sometimes regrets the impossibility of Rose because there has never been anything like it in his current life. What is that? Why does Iv look like that? Is it really so obvious that the 8th princess is not in the mood? Is Rose taking a walk? Asked the sister. The latter hopes that Rose Knight will not fall in love in this life. I have told about golden hearts. They bloomed, so she wanted to admire this beauty. Did she take Sir Agneto's personal knight with her? Rose asked with a smile. The consciousness of the 7th princess called Rose a clueless fool who should accept her mental signals and not fall in love with Michael. The 8th princess turned to her sister's personal guard. Will he answer her question? The guy skillfully parried. He thought the ladies were talking to each other and didn't try to listen. I didn't think that the question was addressed to him. At the same time, Iv was very scared. Ive and the knight went out for a walk, so they will go. She promised to see her sister next time and said goodbye to her and her companion. When they were already walking, Michael doubted himself. He doesn't know if he embarrassed the lady or not. He thinks he behaved tactlessly. Everything is fine, but the princess asks him to be more careful around other representatives of the imperial family. The knight had no problems with other members of the August family before, and she would not have to stand up for him. There were no problems? So Michael is unpleasant in general, only with Rose? The guy was embarrassed, but the hostess asks to speak freely. Everything is fine now. Michael felt more disgust for Rose than for the Emperor himself. Does some unconscious part of Michael awaken in him hatred for the eighth princess? What has accumulated over the years has now spilled out in this form. Maybe 4 also touches some strings of his soul? The knight remembered the wise man's words that there is a great reason for awakening. The warrior has not yet recovered his memories of his past life. Michael now seems to feel echoes of some emotions from the past. This is the only way he can explain the strongest baseless dislike for the eighth princess. I looked at Iv. She was as if scared. She immediately reassured that everything was fine with her. The seventh princess suddenly felt a closeness to her personal knight. At the thought that he might remember her? After a while, Sedella brought the hostess a report from the 2 families mentioned earlier. And Lucierd is preparing a concept aimed at aristocrats. Ive has a subsidiary business in public baths and Lucerne townhouse. Special rooms in these premises will be painted in pearl tones. The younger countess is magnificent. The mistress and maid are admired. As an advertisement, they painted the crew, says Sedella. Is Her Highness listening? I've just thought. Yes, she listens. While listening to the report, something came to mind. Why not ask the Countess to repair the Sedella house? Of course, all expenses will fall on the 7th lady. The faithful maid was embarrassed because her mistress had already given her so generously. That day, Sedella was very surprised when the housekeepers met her at the threshold of the mansion. In the future, Iv would like to do even more for her. He asks the maid, when will he finally invite the hostess to his place? Sedella allows him to come to her at any time. Let her feel at home. She will only be happy about it. Iv wants to come tomorrow. The maid, of course, only for Dot. Here suddenly another maid came running with the tickets that the 7th princess had spoken about earlier. Ive believes that it was not easy to get them, but to thank them. Sedella informs her that she wants to visit her tomorrow. The faithful maid promises to prepare for the visit. Now only her knight remained in the mistress's plans. They were outside. Why? Asks the guy. There is no other way out. He is her personal knight, says the hostess. But she also promised that she would not use force through imprinting. Unhappy and did not think that the princess would treat him like that. Is it a musical performance? It was difficult to get tickets, said the lady. Ramona became famous. It has already been published. Yes, and the 7th princess? It's time to sponsor human art. The servant objected. Sponsorship is a type of relationship between the imperial family and the homunculus. I just wanted to get a sponsorship certificate and meet the owner of the theater. The hostess reminded the servants. After all, they had agreed that he would call her by her name when they were outside. Good, Iv, answered the guy. He will wait for her here. The princess knew that secular life also had its various disadvantages. The next day, I talked with the director of the theater in his office. I was interested. Did Mrs. Rund also enter the upper world? Yes, she sings in Marquis Sayer's salon, said the director. The singer received many guests. Well, Marquis Sayer tries not to let her go once more and asks her to sing exclusively for him. But with the Marquise's permission, some nobles still continue to send invitations. The director showed the list in which the princess saw a mention of Marquis Chensley's nightclub. But this is a gathering of drunken perverts, exclaimed the girl. And the director does not cover himself with the name of the Marquise in order to earn money on Ramona's talent? The princess is willing to make an additional donation, so let the director not write more songs for Miss Rund. And he never sends her to such events. When I was already walking down the street with the servant, I remembered this moment again. She warned the director and hoped he would not do something he would later regret. Suddenly, Ramona herself ran to the princess. Lady admitted that she decided to watch her performance. The singer is upset. Why only now? She was looking for her for so long. Did something happen? S asked Iv. The gypsy heard everything from the director of the theater. Ramona is glad that the princess became her sponsor. No matter how well Teinstvenost sold, isn't it too cruel to hide the sponsor's name from the performer herself? Probably, this is cruel. The princess did not think about it. The gypsy woman took her by the hand and led her. She has something to show the benefactor. The latter walked, being greatly surprised. The servant boy was Michael in disguise. He did not understand where this girl was taking his princess. Ramona allowed her friend's young man to go with them. That is in perplexity. What else is a young man? But if she thinks that he is the princess's boyfriend, then he can go with them. The disguised knight hurried after the girls. The singer asks who does her friend work for? Who is the sponsor of the performer herself? Iv thought about it, but Mivael helped her out. Iv serves Lady Sidella to Count Arfel, he said. The gypsy heard about this count for the first time. Well, he doesn't want to. Let him not believe. Before Ramona heard, Iv thanked Michael. Pizza remembered it's time for the performance, but asks to wait for her. And he begs his friend not to wander here alone. The gypsy woman wants them to go together without fail. The knight decided to send Ember to Mrs. Arfel for smiles and thanks him for it. After some time, the three of them were already riding in a carriage. Ramona just wanted to thank her sponsor. Iv and the knight have already notified her, so everything is fine. The singer has an interesting opinion about my girlfriend's past musical. On stage, she performed as Her Majesty the Seventh Princess. Was it really incredible? True, answered the princess. It was very interesting. The lady was a little surprised because she had forgotten about her history. They drove past the Lugiere public baths where there were many people. The gypsy would really like to go there, but today there are crowds of visitors. Iv is interested. Hasn't she been there yet? But the more people learn about this place, the harder it is to get there. In fact, the singer simply did not have a friend to go there with. She asked For, have you been to this place too? Iv has never been there either. She also has no one to go with. The gypsy woman offered to go to the bathhouse together. They say that there is soap that is very useful for the body. So Iv goes out with her? The girl hesitated, and the knight thinks that she still won't go. According to the young man, For does not even have free time for him. Ramona believes that if they are constantly together, they will soon get bored of each other. After all, imposing your company is one of the forms of violence. Michael is just worried about the princess because she is very shy. But the gypsy woman is ready to help solve this problem. Soon, special separate rooms will be opened in the salon. The singer will become more famous, earn a lot of money, then they will definitely be able to go to these baths. Ramona is sure they will definitely go there. The girls held hands in joy. Iv smiles, she agrees. The singer is waiting for the promise to be fulfilled. Soon they arrived at Mrs. Sidella Punto. They arrived faster than she thought. The singer greets and apologizes for the sudden visit. She wanted to thank her for a long time, so she asked to come with Iv. Apologize for nothing. Are the ladies so close that they even call each other by their first names? According to the singer, they even agreed to go to the public bathhouse together. The guest wants to say that Iv is going to go to the bathhouse, where she will shine with her naked body. Surprised Sidella. Ramona is going to become even more famous and earn a lot of money. Then they will finally book a separate room there, remarked the princess. Ramona is sure that she will definitely become famous, and therefore Count Arfel's reputation will also improve. The singer is confident in her abilities to earn enough to get a separate room in the sauna for herself and Ivy. The gypsy woman waved her hands. Of course, if Mrs. Sidella gives her permission. The princess's servant smiles. She likes this guest. Please take care of Iv. The performer asks Mrs. Arfel to address her informally. In response, she asks for permission to call her Ramona. The princess stood and looked at it with a smile. Although she did not manage to get used to her role well, she is glad that there was a chance to introduce Sidella to her good friend. Ivy turned to her maid, called her mistress. According to her, this is not the best place for a conversation. She offered to go to the living room, and she herself would prepare tea for the time being. They entered the room where 3 girls were sitting. That's where the dog is buried. Eve smiles guiltily. The knight stood near the door of the mansion and listened to the singer. She was going to the carriage. Ramona regrets that Eve cannot come out to her, but asks to pass on that the tea was delicious. A gypsy saw girls from noble families today. She thought they were terrible, but everything went very well, thank God. Maybe someone is patronizing Ramona, says Michael. When they were still sitting in the room, the junior count mentioned a person who sponsors the singer through the entrepreneur. I wonder who it is? The countess turned to Iv and asked, what about the status of the sponsor? Iv smiled. But if only this. Miss Arfel, who is here, is the personal maid of the 7th princess. She is the closest person who represents her interests. The gypsy was embarrassed. She did not even know that Her Highness personally decided to support the singer. The coolest person ever saw a musical. How to be now? The gypsy was already getting into the carriage. Thanks to the invaluable support of Her Highness, the performer will compose her own song. Ramona will try her best and definitely get into the palace. He will personally convey his gratitude to her. Iv stood on the balcony and watched this scene with emotion. She knew that a singer with her talent would have been in the palace a long time ago. She was waiting for this. Iv was a little worried because she was hiding the truth about herself from the singer, but also a little funny. After some time in the garden, Ivy was talking at the table with Albert and the younger countess. The treasurer laughed from the recent scene when Her Majesty herself poured tea for a guest. The countess doesn't think it's funny. Because of this incident, her heart almost burst. If Albert were with her, then she would look at him. But the boy continued to laugh. He also managed to talk to Miss Runt. Thanks to her, Iv has accumulated enough social rating to visit a mine to mine magic stones. And everything is over with all the documents regarding sponsorship. Therefore, soon the truth will spread throughout the empire that the princess is Miss Runt's secret sponsor. I'm glad to finally get the right to visit the mines. Perhaps soon she will be able to improve working conditions there. It is possible that Michael will be able to awaken his powers within. The princess regretted that the study of the magic concentrate did not go to her. She decided to ask Redmond how the land development project is progressing. All right, Redmond is going to choose a family that will be involved in the construction business. Fourth worries. If he meets the countess, won't that create a problem? Suddenly, there will be rumors that they are engaged in corruption. Albert calmed down. No, the princess is joking? What other corruption? Whom does she take for the most honest man of the empire? The younger countess asks Her Highnesses not to worry. Recently, Redmond caught Count Sanchez accepting bribes to hire people for the palace. Albert agrees. He caught it, but he would never do it himself. The treasurer will do everything possible and become a sage. He asks For to look at his drawings. In preparation for the rainy season, the guy laid a waterway every 5 blocks. In connection with the expansion of important facilities in the future, they also made room. The princess found his drawings magnificent. After life, because of Sanchez, meeting Albert was like meeting the devil, and now he has turned into a sage who exposes bribery. Redmond correctly took advantage of the chance that the princess gave him. Revenge and justice were done. For the countess, it is surprising that Albert caught the enemy so deftly. There are ways, he answered. She noticed how her guest blossomed and smiled. She is glad that she found an application for his skills. The younger countess is forced to tell the mistress of the house about her worries. The movements of Marquis Chensley excite her. He is waiting for the moment to start work on the project of the Academy on Developed Lands. There are rumors that this man plans to start a bath business. Ive thinks the Marquis bought an architectural company. News so-so, of course. It's strange because he almost went bankrupt. It is unlikely that the emu was allowed to run its paw into the treasury. Where does he get the money from? Albert got up from the table. He has a meeting with the other 7 owners, so he has to leave. The younger countess is also leaving. My princess is satisfied. Her people did a great job. In a past life, the Marquis' bathhouse business collapsed due to a sudden fire that claimed many lives. The princess did not want to leave it like that. Michael and Iv were walking in the garden. The princess thinks that her personal night looks beautiful today. He reciprocated with a stony face. Yesterday, she slept badly. Someone called them and the girl turned around. This was the 8th Prince, Euclid Björn. She asked, "Is he also going to the morning greeting?" She considered her brother an ill-mannered child. The boy looked at his sister's personal night. I've noticed it. Did he now cast an appraising glance at Michael? It would be good if they just went in silence. Iv heard that Betty has been worried about her lately? Asks the brother. The guy asked his sister not to make any unnecessary moves. For example, he has a mother who can stand up for him. And Eve has no one. Euclid smiled at these words. I didn't like it. Brother is careful with Sister Betty, but so rude with her. And with his arrogance, he seems to many to be a kind of cute hooligan. But in reality, everything is not like that. The 4th wife of the emperor, the mother of Bridget Remy, and the 9th wife of the reigning monarch, Euclid's mother, Ariadne. The second one was the first personal maid. She was a devoted servant to Betty and her mother, and she even went overboard in showing this loyalty. The lady did not love her own son at all and was simply an instrument in the hands of Ramu and Bridget. In her past life, she easily sacrificed her son. She made T.A.M. hoping to help Bridget with capital. Her son did not want to marry a commoner who had suddenly become rich. This is humiliation for a member of the royal family. This has never happened before in history. He asked his mother to think, but was immediately slapped. This is all for the sake of the third princess, and the son should be happy that they were able to sell his face for a trip, says the mother. Ariadne gladly obeyed Bridget. Eve knew it. It's scary to live in the company of snakes, she thought. The prince did not like the look of Mike R.L. Asks, what did he do wrong? I've explained that he was just rude to her. But if the prince apologizes, they will be able to maintain a good relationship. Bjorn does not think so. He should receive an apology from Mistress Agnito for the impudent look. Yuka, named Ego's sister. The guy does not understand why she turned to him like that. How is his fencing training? Suddenly asked Iv. In a kingdom where magic and alchemy are of paramount importance, fencing has always been considered a lower-level art. Despite Euclid's talent for fencing, he had to train in secret from his mother. I've tell his mother? The prince was scared. No, if he apologizes and promises to talk to her nicely, the girl will keep everything a secret. The boy immediately apologized to his sister. On his part, this will not happen again. Bjorn asks the sister not to say anything to the mother's ego. Did you overdo it? He is still a child. The seventh princess was slightly frightened. Ivy put her hand on her brother's hair and accepted his forgiveness. Then she decided to treat him to something. The meeting of the children with their father, the emperor, soon became old. All hailed the ego. The monarch is glad that they have all gathered. I turned to 4. Did she live after the hunting competitions? Thank you, it's good, answered the girl to her father. She reminded me that he asked last week. The girl is embarrassed that she is making Dad worry so much. If there are no physical ailments, this does not mean that mental health is in full order. Moreover, the girl was attacked by a monster, reminded the emperor. He offers daughters and a magic stone that will soothe the soul and body. Ev asks his father not to worry too much. She takes serious care of her health. The emperor is glad for his daughter, but we are not satisfied with Rose. Lady does not understand why the sister is so cute with the father. It won't work like that, she decided. Rose said that she was also worried about the seventh princess. She still can't sleep when she thinks about her and the incident in the forest. The father agrees. The incident is terrible. But isn't Iv's calm thanks to Sister Betty? Asks Rose. If Bridget had not built a line of defense so quickly, the losses would have been greater. Bjorn thinks so too. The sister quickly took everything into her own hands, says the prince. Eve drank tea in silence. She was saved by Michael and praised by Betty. It's not the first day like this. Thanks to the third princess, they found the monster, Rose's ulcer. Eve does not understand why they suddenly started talking about a monster. The sister makes a terrible assumption. The brother is confident. He asks for forgiveness from him, but it is not necessary to write off a monster from the accounts. Since Galamut's magic concentrate is about to run out, everything is becoming clear. The sister wanted to talk about it, as it turned out, about what made the father stop looking at the third princess. The topic of conversation is now clear. 4 frowns. In the past life, it was after this conversation that the emperor deleted the seventh princess from his life. Rose informed him about the decrease in the amount of mind magic stones recently. Although there are no such industries where they would be used as raw materials, their prices continue to rise. The 8th princess is worried because of this. It seems that in the near future, the value of the stones will skyrocket. He tells his father. The daughter offers to develop new places for the production of magic stones. He asked. Betty reminded her sister that it was time for morning greetings. Let him leave such conversations for later. The girl apologized, but the emperor asks her to continue. He admitted that he himself had been thinking about it lately. Bridget considers it necessary to hear the opinion of other members of the August family. This was a hint towards 4. Relatives joyfully rub their paws as if they were falling flies, she thinks. They are probably already looking forward to throwing her out of here. Bridget is convinced that this is a question of life and death. It is because politics exists for the economy. Economic stability is above all. The third princess offers an effective short-term measure. It is necessary to increase the load on lower-class homunculi. Then the amount of mind stones will increase. At the same time, it is possible to form a punitive detachment and start developing new deposits in the state. I've looked warily at her sister. For the Emperor, this is a good idea. Such a solution to the problem will in any case lead to collisions with monsters. Betty is glad that she thinks the same way as her father. Ive is outraged. The plan to settle such a problem simply consists in forcing tired old homunculi to work even harder? This cannot even be called a short-term measure. Bridget, with an evil grin, invited Four to speak on this matter. Does she agree with her? The turning point has come. Everyone looked at the seventh princess. Last time she was honest and told the thief everything to his face. But now Four is already a completely different person. Sister Bridget's words make sense, she says. Betty was surprised. Does she agree? It's not like Iv. As the Emperor said, sooner or later we would have to solve this problem, answered the seventh princess. Betty's father and sister proposed a good short-term and long-term plan to solve the problem, says Iv. But Iv also wants to squeeze in and offer an intermediate stage. Does she have an idea? Asked the father. According to the girl, there is a method thanks to which you can immediately increase the amount of mind magic stones. And they won't even have to fight monsters. In a fit of anger, Bridget considers these words nonsense. Ivy denies it is not so. All this time, she was actively engaged in researching one question, where during hunting, Galamut lost his tail in battle. There is a high probability that the place where it ended up became a deposit of magic stones. In the past life, everything was exactly like that, but the imperial family did not develop these territories. But now it's a great opportunity for them. So why not use it? I am sure that these stones will be enough for the next 10 years. If this is all true, then it is possible not to worry about the inevitability of monsters, the Emperor thinks. He offers to check everything. He asks the seventh princess to paint everything and bring the document to his table.